It is Tuesday, June 28th at approximately 7 p.m. I'd like to make a reminder that this meeting is being audio and video taped consistent with the open meeting laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Tonight, I'm joined by my Vice Chairman, Scott Bugby, our Clerk, Jim Lehan, our Town Administrator, Jack Hathaway, and our Administrative Assistant, Marion Harrington. My name is Jeff Colombo. I guess I'd like to first invite you all to join me in a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I guess with that, Jack, perhaps you could give us a rundown of the agenda for the evening.
Sure. We have three items of business to start off the meeting. We have a public hearing for Class 2 license at 84 Rockwood Road. Richard Grudinskas, Artisan Motor Group Incorporated, is here to join us, followed by a discussion of historic New England preservation restriction at 97 North Street. And then we have DPW Director Bob McGhee in for an update on roads and water projects. We have a number of action items which are listed on the agenda. And then we have discussion of goals and liaisons, town administrator report, and a discussion on Southwood. And of course, we have several minutes to approve at the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. So, Richard, why don't you come up and join us? It's the first item. Yeah, just have a seat right there is fine. Either of those two seats. Please introduce yourself formally to the board.
My name is Richard Grudinskas.
You can sit down.
Yeah, please.
Pretty casual. We try to be.
I represent Artisan Motor Group, Inc., and I'm looking to get a Class 2 license at 84 Rockwood Avenue, Town.
Okay. I know the board has received your application. We reviewed it. I personally didn't have any questions. It seems to be pretty much the same type of application that we've reviewed and approved in the past, but Scott? Joe?
Well, I just forgot, is there a limit to the number or maximum number of cars you can have there? Is that right? Is it 4 or 5? Jack? I couldn't remember. I see them out in front there anyways.
4, isn't
I
it?
think it's 5. Marion went up to go get the conditions from the last license. Just
Okay.
to,
Currently, the license that is there now states 5.
Is that okay with you? I mean, you're okay
that's
with
part
that?
of a zoning
Well, I'd
board
like to get
decision.
more, but
Yeah, I don't think-
it's 5 would be just good.
Okay.
Just great, thank you.
So, item 7 says office and 5 spaces for outdoor display of used cars.
Yes, sir.
So,
Okay,
so it is part of the application.
I'm good. Thank you, Joe.
So, Marion, we were just talking about the fact that item 7 in the application refers to 5 spaces for outdoor display of the used cars, but I guess were you checking the prior application for this this lot, this
I give us
license?
that way.
It's probably not necessary. I think 5 is reasonable.
Yeah, well, there's a zoning decision on this property as well, so I think that leads us to the maximum of 5. So
Okay.
we don't want to go above that.
Okay. You have any further comments, questions, anything for the board?
No, sir, I'm familiar with the situation at that address. The only thing I can say is that if a complaint comes in, I know several have from the current license, that's my intent to satisfy all complainants.
Okay.
We've had them here in the past. That's right. There was some issues before. The old,
Yeah.
the
No
old
recent
applicant.
issues, though, right?
Well, I think it was the old applicant anyway, so it doesn't apply to Richard, I don't think anyways, right? Because you're.
That's correct.
Yeah. So we.
Okay. Do I-
Well, I talked to him about it once already a little bit, but I did receive another call just questioning that Mercedes that's been there for a couple of years. I know you said that was a car you've got to.
That will be resolved by Friday, if that's all right, if I can have that extended time. It'll be gone.
It's perfect. That's the only recent complaint I've heard is that car with a broken window, and it's been there for a long time. The only question I had too was is the snow blower or whatever that other material is that yours or is that?
That has to do with the landscaping firm, and I believe that's the landlord's. Has nothing to do with anything I've done or the current holder of the license.
Okay, that's what I kind of suspected, but wanted to check. I've had a couple conversations, brief as they were, with Mr. Grudinskas. I know he's a former Needham police officer, and I apologize, I don't know your rank, so I don't want to be disrespectful.
Fine.
But from everything I've heard, outstanding gentleman, so I look forward to doing business with him.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for coming to our town.
Thank you.
Want to do a motion, all right? I don't know if Jim had any questions.
I don't know if you have some neighbors here. I don't know if you want to.
It is a public hearing.
It is a public hearing. Anyone care to speak about this particular license application?
Just make sure you grab the
Oh,
microphone.
grab the mic. Just, it's for the folks at home. We can hear you, but they can't. Just make sure the green light's on.
Sorry, I was a little bit late walking in, but Alan Japsky, 86 Rockwood Road. I live next door, and sounds like you addressed it, the black Mercedes. That has been quite the eyesore. That car is like rusted out, broken windows. It looks like it should be towed, not sold. So, you know, I just would appreciate, because, you know, we pay a lot of taxes in this town, and I don't think, as it's been run up till now, it's just not very representative of this town. So that's all. Just wanted to.
And that will be removed by Friday.
Yes, sir, it will be.
Very good.
All right, great. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
Dina Perino, I live at 95 Rockwood. My house directly faces this business, so we have a vested interest. I agree with the other comments that have been made about the Mercedes. There's been other vehicles that are in various disrepair over the period of time of the previous licensee. So I guess that's just a concern of folks in the neighborhood. We're hoping that your cars will look a little better, be a little more presentable. And the question that I have is, what are the hours of operation of the business, and are there provisions around displays and signage, as there were for the previous licensee?
Yeah.
Yes, there are.
See if they answered that. Yeah, so the same conditions, no lights, banners, balloons, or signs, same conditions would apply for
She
Richard's
can have a
license
copy
as
of
well.
this, can't she? Yeah, let me give you a copy of this.
Jeff, I don't know the hours.
No, in case somebody else wants one.
Do you have intended hours, Richard, or is it kind of the call? I don't.
Well, again, it is a business, and it's a business that is pretty much from sunset to, sunrise to sunset, in favor of the neighbors. And they articulated very well. They pay a lot of taxes here. If I could open at approximately 9 a.m. and be closed no later than 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and I would make every effort not to be open on Sunday myself.
So just a point of note here that the actual license has 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay?
Monday through Saturday as the hours of operation. So this is the license date on this. This
It's
is the
last year's
expired
license.
license. So this is the prior license, was 9 to 5. So I guess, that may be a change, and I'm not sure that that's something we would or would not support as a board, but the operation in the past has operated between 9 and 5. I guess I'll ask for any input from butters as far as the 9 to 8 p.m., if that's a formal request of the board. I certainly welcome any input that you might have.
I guess just from someone who, as I said, we directly face, we would prefer 9 to 5 if it could follow the guidelines that have been listed here for the previous licensee. I don't know if anyone else has any comments.
Yeah, I can go either way. So, I'm not opposed to it.
How about if we mitigate and I go 9 to 6? It would give me an hour more as to the sunset, and if there's any complaints, I would hope that they would come to me and distinguish what those complaints are. I would resolve them, as I said at the very beginning of this meeting, that resolve in their favor, and more importantly, they still have the right to come before the board and have those hours diminished again. I'd make that as a contingency to my license. But if I could mitigate it by 1 hour, I'd appreciate it, if that doesn't harm them too bad.
No, and I would think that would result in you getting some exposure to people who may still be returning home from work, that
Yes.
type of thing, who may not be getting home by 5 o'clock. You know, they may be driving by, so,
I would appreciate that consideration.
yes, Jim, any,
I'm okay with that, as long as it's really the neighbors. Again, it's a grandfathered area in a residential area. If you folks are okay with it, we're here to help if we can.
I will say before the board that, again, I make myself available for any complaints to anyone that has any concern.
Yeah, I think 6 PM is reasonable. Yeah.
I guess with that, do I have a motion to approve the application for licensure, and with a special note that the hours of operation would be 9 AM to 6 PM, Monday through Saturday?
I move to authorize the dealer's license, Class 2, as presented, with an amendment for operating hours from 9 AM to 6 PM, Monday through Saturday.
Seconded.
Any further discussion?
Just a point of clarification, and all the requirements under the ZBA ruling have to be adhered to. They're part of the ruling that allows the grandfathering, so it's not really within the privilege of this board to change any of those.
That's good. Is that what Mr. Hathaway gave me?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, in the
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Want me to make a motion to close it?
And thanks to you guys for coming in. It's always nice to see visitors, especially friendly ones.
Mr. Chairman, if you may, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for the Class 2 hearing.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right on time.
Perfect timing.
Okay. Okay, we're at 7:15. Next item of
Good timing.
business is Carissa DeMoure, or DeMoure? DeMoure? Yeah, please join us.
Welcome.
You're welcome to join too, because we have microphones. That way you don't have to speak into the... This is your moment to get on TV. Seen by millions.
And your business here is to discuss the preservation restriction for 97 North Street,
That's right.
correct?
Mr. Chairman, members of the
the,
board, thank you for your consideration.
The Historic Committee enthusiastically endorses.
So yes, so my name is Carissa DeMoure. I am a supervising preservation services manager, and I'm here on behalf of Historic New England. We are the oldest and largest regional preservation organization in the country. We were founded in 1910 to preserve New England heritage for future generations. We own and operate 36 public historic sites throughout New England, and we have actively accepted and managed preservation restrictions to protect privately owned, historically significant properties since about 1981. Tonight I'm here to talk to you about the preservation restriction for the Solomon Blake House at 97 North Street in Norfolk. The property is historically significant, it's very intact, and it definitely merits protection. The house was constructed in 1762, and it remained in the family for about 98 years. After a period of ownership by other folks, in 1926 it was acquired by Agnes Thompson Bristol, who is a descendant of Solomon Blake, and she went on to donate land to create the Bristol Blake Reservation in 1959 and the Stony Brook Wildlife Sanctuary in 1963. In 2015, Mrs. Bristol's it's her step-grandson and his wife left the property, including the house, to Mass Audubon, with the stipulation that the house could be sold subject to some kind of perpetual protection. So the preservation restriction agreement that was negotiated between Mass Audubon and Historic New England will serve to protect the exteriors of the house, the barn, and the garage that are on the property, as well as significant landscape elements, things like the stone walls and the granite pillars that are there, and also significant interior features of the house, so things like historic plaster, woodwork, fireplaces, early door hardware, those kinds of things. Once it's recorded, the restriction is binding on all future owners, so it protects the property permanently. Historic New England is very experienced in actively managing restrictions of this kind. We currently manage 103 preservation restrictions on properties throughout New England. We have 4 full-time staff to administer the program. We visit each property at least annually to review the conditions and assure that it's compliant with the terms of the restriction, and also to discuss any issues or upcoming projects with the owner. So our goal in these restrictions is not to freeze the property in time. It's simply to ensure that any changes that do happen are done in a way that's sensitive to the historic character of that property. Because the restrictions are perpetual, we also work frequently with owners who are putting properties on the market to assure that future owners are aware of the restrictions and understand those terms. Our goal really is to be a resource for property owners, since we have 100+ years of experience in preserving residential properties. So I'm here tonight because Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 184, Section 32, requires that preservation restrictions be approved by the local municipality and by the Massachusetts Historical Commission in order to be perpetual. What that means is, without your approval, we would have to re-record the preservation restriction for the Blake House in 30 years and then every 20 years thereafter, which is cause for some concern. So your approval tonight would not mean that the town has any responsibility in terms of management or enforcement of the restriction. It would remain a private legal agreement between Historic New England and the property owner. The Massachusetts Historical Commission has provided a preliminary review of the preservation restriction, and they are prepared to approve it following the town's review. And I also attended the Historical Commission meeting on the 21st, and they are very enthusiastic about this protection for the property. Tonight with me is Doug Williams of Mass Audubon, and we would be happy to answer any questions that you have in hopes that the board will move to approve the preservation restrictions.
Great. Well, welcome. Yeah, would you like to?
Thanks so much. So, as you said, Doug Williams, I'm the director at Stony Brook, Mass Audubon's Nature Center here in town. And I didn't have any prepared comments or anything. I just wanted to be here in case you had any questions contextual about the property, or we're delighted to have this taking place, hopefully. And we look at the house as a great educational opportunity for us. We've been working with the Historic Commission for a number of years now, and one of the things that we did was using the Norfolk cable television. We actually went through with Betsy Pine and filmed the whole interior of the house. So we're editing a video for it, which will be added to the one that the Historic Commission did earlier of the parsonage at the church across the street. So we're excited.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Well, I did the video with Betsy on the parsonage across the street, so you have my support. I'm thrilled you're going to do this. I know the building, the home. We have let too many of our valuable older properties just disappear for no reason whatsoever. So the preservation of these homes is something that you got my full support. I think it's wonderful you're doing that, and thank you for all you do at Stony Brook, by the way.
Thank you.
Absolutely fabulous place. So I think it's great.
Thank you.
Just a question. So, Matt, who currently owns it? Who's going to own it? I mean, so any person could buy it, but they would be restricted based on.
That's correct. So right now, Mass Audubon owns the property and are in the process of selling it.
To individual, I mean, another family,
A family.
and they have to keep it if we.
They have to live by the restriction.
That's correct. Yes. So they will work with Historic New England. Historic New England will hold the restriction perpetually.
Be a wonderful home for someone to live in.
Yes, and we have actually met with the prospective buyers at this point who are lined up to buy the house, and they are very enthusiastic about it as well.
That's great.
A lot of enthusiasm.
I don't think, Jack. You looked at this too. I mean, like you said, it doesn't involve really the town, other than not having to do this every 20, 30 years. You said.
Exactly. It's
I have no problem with that. There's no downside.
Well,
No, I think there's a lot of upside. Yeah, there's a lot of upside. This assures preservation of just a beautiful piece of property.
Yeah.
excellent.
It's fantastic. Our town continues to evolve, and we try to keep certain things the way they have been to the extent we can. But private property is private property. So I mean, people are they have a right to to improve and expand and do certain things. So So your efforts are appreciated.
I know Betsy's behind that TV smiling from ear to ear.
Enthusiastically.
Enthusiastically, and rightfully so.
So in terms of the actions here this evening, is it just a straight approval, Jack, of the board? Is that?
I believe so, just approval of
Yes,
the...
and actually, I will need you to sign an approval page that then gets recorded with the restriction.
Do you have specific language that should be included in the motion, or is it just sufficient to say that we approve the preservation restriction for 97 North Street?
I think that's sufficient.
I so make that motion.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Enthusiastically, aye.
Enthusiastic. So, oh, it's just Jeff, I think, has,
It's all three of you.
there's only 2 pages. Oh, Jim's there, okay, yep. I didn't
Yes,
wanna-
sorry, and you do have a copy
You
of
have to
the...
come back in 30 years and sign. I signed tonight.
Yeah. Am I the youngest member, is that what you're trying to say?
You got a better shot at it than I do.
How's Stony Brook going, Doug?
Good.
Yeah.
We're doing good. We've got camp, we're into our second week of camp, and things are going really well there, so.
Great.
What about the boardwalks and stuff like that? Is that getting slowly resolved? I know-
Just shoot me. No.
No, I didn't mean to bring that. I don't know if that's what Jack was
That's where I
asking.
was going, so
I
I...
just, because I read about it. I
Yeah,
mean,
so the boardwalk is, it's closed until further notice, and I have the DCR, actually, the chief of engineering came out and took a look at it, and he said, we recognize it's a safety issue, we don't want anybody, he said, we don't want to have your kids having to swim back to shore.
Yeah.
So they're working on it. We've had a stream of engineers out, and I haven't
one?
heard anything
one
definitive on when they're going to
If you want
get
to
it
do
open
three, we
again,
can.
but I think
Shouldn't
that
we keep one for our
they're
records?
starting to take contracts to
Yeah.
do work
Fix it
on
or whatever needs to be done?
Yeah.
I
In the
have
meantime,
extra.
camp is going
I am
great.
prepared.
We love
We would
paper.
like access to the boardwalk.
I keep meaning I gotta bring the town, don't tell anybody, but the town bought a drone helicopter, so we can take
If you need
videos.
someone to run it, I'm your guy.
Find somebody other than Jim. Don't stand nearby.
I've wiped out Christmas lights and almost my wife, so you really want to be careful.
Oh,
If you could just not drone anywhere near
Want
the
all three of
Blake
them to
house.
sign.
It'd probably crumble, right? It's like, yeah, I'm trying to repair it.
Whoops, I shouldn't told Al I was the one that did the Christmas lights up on the hill.
You guys gotta-
What lights? Yeah.
Did you notice one of the trees went out during Christmas?
Al only gets the ones that are in the water department.
Wet ones.
So I can come over sometime, and I'd love to take some videos.
You don't care which one we do
Please
here,
do.
Marion?
Yeah.
No, you just each have to sign one.
No, I filled up the bottom page.
yeah, so the boardwalk closure's been a challenge. It was nice to have Sean Dooley
No, no,
stand up
over
at
in
the
the far
town
right.
meeting, and
I saw that, yeah.
I really give him credit for getting the ball rolling.
Yeah, because it could have just lingered, sadly.
right.
not-
Yeah.
You're right.
Oh, okay. We used to take the kids on that thing. It was
You were
fun always to
lucky.
walk out around that, yeah. And they did the camp to Stony Brook on there a little, too.
We'll have a big party when we reopen it.
This, is there a really good chance this family will go through with the purchase?
I think so, yeah.
So,
What I understand is that they're aiming for a close on the 15th, so,
The odds are good then.
yes.
Yeah.
I think they're enthusiastic.
You have to be to want to go into that, so you really have to love it. And that's
It's
gonna be
actually in the preservation restriction.
Yeah, you have to be enthusiastic. Okay.
We had somebody that works internally that was almost interested in that, and she wanted a little more property.
good. Well, he's got all of Stony Brook behind. For heaven's sakes, how much does he need?
That's exactly right. And, that's part of that's one of the things that's really nice about this is that the Bristol Lake State Reservation,
Yep.
Mass Audubon, Stony Brook, and then this piece of property, they're all
All
Two years,
connected.
right?
they're all gonna, they'll all be
What
preserved.
a beautiful backyard.
Yeah.
I would think so, yeah.
Fantastic.
Well,
Great.
thank-
Luck
Well,
with
thank
things
you.
going
Thank you very
forward.
much.
Yeah,
Thanks
it's
so much.
appreciated.
No, not all. Thank you. Thanks for the good work that you do.
Well, hopefully
Aaron's
we'll be
doing all
back.
the hard work.
Yeah, thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, petrol, so, yeah.
Jack, let me know when you come out
All right,
with
well,
the drone, and we'll
I'll be there tomorrow.
No.
Not Jim.
I'll lock it up until Jim's gone away.
Wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
next item of business. It's about 7:30 here.
Close enough, yeah.
DPW update with Mr. McGhee.
And crew.
Oh, yes.
You brought a crew.
Yeah,
You're welcome to bring up whoever you would like here to assist you in your...
Sure. We have Al's our foreman in the water department, and we have Ryan Algrove, who's our water consultant for Environmental Partners.
Oh, okay.
And we were going to talk about water, if it's okay with you, and you
We
have
hope so.
time, maybe after we just update you with the our Chapter 90 and construction projects. Unless you'd like to have it another way.
No, although I didn't bring those sheets that you gave me this afternoon.
You didn't.
It must be with the IMA contracts. IMA agreement. Sure, there's a big folder.
It's probably down at the bottom of your pile. Do you need me? I can go make some
No,
copies of it.
you know, there's 4 projects, and if you want to dive right into it, I'll be glad to update you with what we're asking for. So, you know, I forget when it was the last time we met and we were talking about some potential projects, and reading back in the notes, we were talking about paving, finishing up a neighborhood that we started last year and going out to Union and Diamond, doing a little paving there. And we had a guest in the audience and from Route 115 and the on North Street, and we were going to do some sidewalk, a little bit of widening and clearing and side sloping on Route 115, at least in the area where the sidewalks are kind of flush with the street, because the situation is dangerous. And I think what we'd like to do there is, that's part of the project request that I have here. So going back to that, I kind of put a couple of my other recommendations earlier on hold. If it's okay, you did give approval for us to make a Chapter 90 request. I didn't make that request. It goes with a little story, couple weeks back, maybe even a month ago. Well, right after that meeting, we were looking at putting speed humps in on Everett Street. Took a ride with Jack. Coincidentally, I had a couple of phone calls from people in that area concerned about the condition of the street in Lafayette Estates, Lafayette Road, and Old Coach Road, Lafayette Lane. So Jack and I took a ride up there, and you know, it was a real first good look that I had. I had been there a couple of times before, but the road is raveling to the point where it's down through the raveling into gravel in just a couple of areas. So when you're prioritizing, you just can't turn your back on that. And then I got another phone call, and then we looked at the sidewalks in that entire neighborhood. So what I'd like to do is recommend to you that we stay with Route 115. I was going to come to you with a cost estimate to do just that scope that I told you about. Granite curbing from the center of town, Union Street at Liberty Lane, where the roundabout is, and follow down Route 115. I forget, it's like a couple thousand feet with a vertical granite curb. Vertical granite curb is my recommendations because we don't really have a width of the road to support a loom border. And without a loom border, you don't have a lot of time for cars to readjust if they kind of drift off the road. A vertical curbing will, you know, kind of wake the driver up and maybe save a life, because that sidewalk is being used more and more, and the more we go into the future, the more it's being used, the sidewalks on Route 115. So I've got an estimate of $109,000 to do that work, to be funded through Chapter 90. Back to where I was before, Old Coach Road and Lafayette Lane. Would like to go up there and mill those streets down to a consistency. Again, I'll say this until I run out of breath, but it is not the actual way somebody doing a pavement management would look at that street and say, that's what it needs. The street really needs to be reclamated. But we just don't have the funds to go and do the perfect job. However, we have found in the past that milling will get it down to a consistency. So if we mill off the surface that's been raveling down, say, an inch, and we come back with a one top application of 1.5 inches for that neighborhood, for that down pressure, for that traffic, I think that'll hold that those two streets together for some years to come. Now, there's other streets in that neighborhood in Lafayette Estates that, like many other streets, need some attention. There's no funding for that. There's some other sidewalk work that I'd like to do on Old Coach Road and Lafayette Lane, elimination of sidewalks. And I want you to try to imagine this bit, is if you go up Route 115 and you take a left on Pine Street 115, you take a left on Old Coach Road, there's sidewalks on the left. There's also sidewalks on the right. They're continuous from Route 115. The sidewalks on the left go around the corner take a left on Lafayette Lane, goes about 50 feet or so, and ends in grass, goes nowhere. So what I'm recommending is that we take that sidewalk out. Of course, I'll talk to the neighbors and I'll give them some notice and see what their argument might be to have that out, and then loom right to this, right to the curb line. We have sidewalks on the other side, and that continues up Lafayette Lane. And straight ahead on Old Coach Road on the left, the sidewalk again continues, but it goes like 100 yards or less than that, 50 yards, and it just goes nowhere. So I'm thinking that we have a sidewalk on one side, we don't need one on the other side, especially when it has no continuity, that has just no place for it to go.
Can I ask a question? I understand the logic of that and, aesthetically and functionally why you want to do that, but it's not doing any harm there, right?
No, but it can't stand alone. We would have to invest money to bring it up to something that would
It
be
needs to be
safe.
repaired. So either you repair it
So,
or you
well,
put
that's my
loom.
question. I
Yeah.
mean, is it a hazard at this point where you have to do something, either fix it or get rid of it, or can it be just left alone?
I wouldn't do the street without doing that. Somebody
No, no,
walking down
look-
there is not going to fall on their face, but it's tomorrow's hazard, for sure. Doesn't make sense to keep it, in my opinion.
So is the sidewalk a trip hazard now, I guess, or is it?
I mean, my question, I understand the logic
Yeah.
of it, but you have limited funds, and it's going to cost us something to take that out.
You wouldn't notice that. It's
So
insignificant.
there's no, in doing the road, by removing this really doesn't increase the cost? I mean, there aren't funds there that you could
Of
use
course,
for something else?
there is, Jim, but it's insignificant. I'll tell you what, it'll
Okay.
be 4 times that if I had to take it out and replace it, or repair it and then overlay it.
No, I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm just saying, if
Like,
you...
is that $1,000, $20,000?
Well, yeah, I mean, 1,000, if it's incidental in the work you're
It
going
is.
to do anyway, then that's one thing. I somehow had it in my mind that it was going to be another chunk of money that we could spend someplace else.
Not at all.
Okay, you've answered my question.
While we're doing other things, I'll say, hey, go over there and get rid of that sidewalk, and it'll
Okay.
be done by 1 in the afternoon.
Okay.
So there's a
got it.
value there, but it's really hidden in our labor.
Okay, thank you.
So that's Old Coach and Lafayette Lane. And again, I'm sure the phones will ring. What I want to do up in that neighborhood while I'm there is do some patchwork around the neighborhood, some sidewalk overlay around the neighborhood. There's some sections of sidewalk on, I think, the trail side of Freedom, and maybe both, that just are trip hazards, and people have tripped. I just didn't know about it because they didn't complain. People up there are wonderful. I mean, they just, when I see them, I bump into them and say, hey, have you seen the sidewalks up there? And I go up there, and sure enough, I can't believe that they're not tearing our doors down, because some of the sidewalks there, the roots have caused heaves.
It's an older
The guy
neighborhood.
stopped and told me, I just forget about going down the street with my granddaughter now. I got to go out onto the street. How much do you need to hear? So I'd like to go up there, and I want to do that kind of work. And there's a mile or more of sidewalk up there, but the method that I want to do is go up there and shave down the humps, fill in the cracks, and then when it's all cleaned up, start from the beginning, and then just put an inch overlay, transition over some of the roots, because you take out the roots, you could kill the trees. So, and that will buy some significant time going into the future.
Okay.
That's it for Lafayette Lane. While we're there, let's just go back to that for a second. 2 other little, and these are rather small, are requests for one for $10,000 to recycle processed materials. The demo materials that we bring into the solid waste, we'd like to have some funds to recycle them, bring them back out into the road for reuse, or pay to just landfill them. Doesn't make sense. It's probably more money. So that's $10,000.
So
And-
what does that entail, Bob? You have to, do some particle size, you get to get quarter-inch, half-inch, whatever.
Right.
Do you have to do some of that?
We have a company come in.
Sieving or whatever you...
A couple of things. Usually, this kind of money doesn't really help to do the construction materials, as it does the organic materials. So we bring in stumps, roots, and we stockpile them right in the same pile that we might have as overburden from storms, winter storms. We stockpile stuff throughout this town throughout the year, and it forms up a big pile of debris that can later be shaken out, used for loom, screened, brought down for reuse, because it's organic. It's almost nothing organic that we can't reuse. And some of the stuff just turns into wood chip, and if we get overburdened with that, we can have a truck come in and we get like $250 a truck to go back out the door. So it's always something. and it's good practice, good use. At some point, we bring in so much asphalt that we pick up from sidewalks, debris, permanent patch, that we stockpile that, and maybe every 3 to 5 years, I'll ask you for a greater sum of money to have a crusher come in to the tune of $30,000, and we'll make about $50,000 worth of processed materials. That will again go out and eliminate the having to go out to LaRusso and pay a bill to them or some other company and stuff. It's all good.
That's what I was thinking. You were talking about this a little different.
Yeah. Some of this money can be used for that. There are some things that just don't want to crush, like a brick or a clay or something like that, and we just pick it up and truck it somewhere else, and that'll pay for it, because the clay is maybe not such a great structural material. Little things like that. Pieces of steel or something, just, separate it and put it in the scrap pile. Another thing I'd like to do is ask for $20,000 for some, this is something that we did like about 4 years ago, and we're continuously mapping our town with, and we're just about ready to conclude the drainage mapping. We have the catch basins, manholes, and outfalls. So that if you were to go on to people's GIS and you wanted to look at a layer, you could see all the work that we did. And you can see all the work that was once done when the previous director was here, and it's like, they don't overlay. They're off by like 8 feet or something like that. So it's whatever the mapping is that, it's a Google-based map that comes up, and there's a planimetric feature to it, which shows not live, but, just a blueprint look at our town. Then you can put on, actual live photograph of 2008, 2011, like, Google, like you can do it at your house. But it maps our town, and we overlay the assessor's map onto it. We overlay the drainage. We overlay the water, so we can see all this, so that we can, at some point, we want to, I'd like to continue this GPS work to the point where water will fund it, and we won't need to go to, because I'd like to go out and do all the water gates, all the water shutoffs. You can imagine if a water main broke in the middle of the night or something like that, we could go out with a GPS unit and just find a water gate under the snow, under the asphalt, without having to go to the shop, pull tie cards off foundations, and 2 people, trying to locate a shutoff, because the first thing happens with a water break is you want to shut the water main down right away before the street blows apart and washes away. So that's just, that's the GPS request, and it's also going to be forced down our throat to have that updated through the new stormwater regulations that just came out. The MS4 regulations, there's a, if you don't know what I'm talking about.
I do, but is that part of it? GPS is part
Yes, it
of
is.
requirements?
It's a best management practice. Brian, are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
A little bit.
Because he's an engineer, I thought he might, but, yeah.
Well, I'm familiar with it from the planning board,
Yeah.
because it's an issue particularly for commercial development.
But there was a permit that came out like some 11 years ago. Now the new permit is upon us. It's been passed, and we're going to have some conversations about what this town is required to do and the funding it's going to take to do it. I think we're in better shape than most towns because we simply do not have storage. One of the big things is I&I. That's infiltration into storage, which then goes off to get treated, and big waste of money and resources.
How much does this leave us in Chapter 90, Bob?
I didn't calculate a balance, Jim, but we got like 396, and we had a balance of over 50,000. So if you add that up and subtract this,
Got it.
Tim's got it.
so we have another 75 to 80, 90,000,
You got
whatever
more?
the math tells us.
Okay.
And then, the other thing too is I don't underestimate these projects. So I expect
No, I
that
know
when
you
I
don't.
conclude these projects, there's going to be a little more money.
You always put money back in the kitty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to get yelled at for.
These are new requests, so we just need to vote this tonight?
Yeah, I don't think you voted, the one I wasn't sure about was North Street, but I don't think you voted that. You wanted an estimate before you voted it, so I think you need to vote all.
We can vote it again, no harm, right?
Yeah, I think you need to vote it.
Is that okay with you, Mr. Chairman?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, that was the last meeting you were here, was the meeting that I could not be here.
Right.
So that you may not have taken some of the actions for that reason. You may have deferred. But yeah, absolutely. So do we have those as well that we should?
They're right there.
They're all on
That's
here.
it,
These
yeah,
are all of
so-
them?
And we signed it, yeah.
I move to approve Chapter 90 request for North Street, Route 115, in the sum of $109,259. Old Coach Road, $51,560. Lafayette Lane, $99,571, for a total of $151,131. Also vote to approve move to approve recycle to process materials for $10,000 and GPS drainage, $20,000, sum total $290,390 from Chapter 90.
Seconded.
A lot of 90s.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Should we
No.
sign one of
Thank
these just for
That
your
was the easy
records?
one,
I think
right?
you signed this thing.
Now we got water.
You guys always make it easy. It's,
Oh, no, I think the North
It's the
Street,
projects.
North Street is important. I think
Yeah.
it's the centerpiece of our town, going down to Pond Street, I think, you know.
if
just
we
have
could
people
circle
walk-
back to,
Scott missed.
What's that?
back to keep going?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. So we're moving on from
No,
roads
I had
to-
mentioned before, we talked about Everett Street and the speed humps, and I
Yes.
thought I'd, we can't,
Infamous
Yeah, let's
street.
talk about that again. That'll be fun.
yeah. So,
You
Enthusiastic.
want to tell them about the trip you and I took down there that day?
Told him.
So what we did was, last we talked about it, we were looking at putting speed humps up there, and we were looking at pricing some lights out on Route 115 in a couple of areas in town, which I've gone ahead, and I haven't got prices for the lights yet, but these are blinking yellow lights, not the big mast arm stop lights, something very much cheaper, but still might curb the speed on some of these streets that we're having problems with.
like we have over Marshall Street on
Exactly.
115.
But maybe do a blinking red light. Say if you're coming out of Everett Street, a blinking red light there, both ways on Everett Street, and then a blinking yellow light for the traffic to see coming down a quarter of a mile, because they need to slow down.
Okay.
It's not getting any better over there. And there's a couple other spots, you know, if you want the details of those, I can, but I think we better get on these speed humps there. So the speed humps were, I don't know how it came into the last meeting. I know we had people in the audience, and so we started talking about it. We came up with, let's try some speed bumps, or some kind of gradual speed bumps that Jack had cited and I had witnessed myself over in the town of Westwood. So I went over there, and before going ahead and doing that, I get on Google and I researched and I spent some time to find out what's going on in this country with regards to speed bumps, and speed bumps are kind of like out. They're old-fashioned, they're no good, and they're just not regarded anymore as sensible use. So there's speed humps now that bring you gradually over, but does calm the speed, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to take speeds of 50, 40 down to 20, 25, where the speed limit is around the same, maybe 30 or 35. So I get into it, and again, I'm not going to pass this around unless you ask for it, but there are different kinds of calming stuff. Once you get on there, as the world opens up, and you find out there are those calming humps, then there are speed cushions, which have little indentations for it. So when you go down there, if you're a emergency vehicle, and I think I might have described it to a couple of you, I know Jack's sick of hearing it, but the emergency vehicle can veer to the middle of the road, which is not a big challenge for them, because you see how they got to blast through intersections and stuff like that. They can stay level and maintain a speed for the benefit of their task. And I thought that was it, and Ray's was right around the corner. But
There you go.
Sadly, no.
You can blame this
Didn't
one
happen.
on me, Bob. You can blame this one on me.
But anyways, and I never suspected that people were going to do it. There'd be a few wise guys that would do it and stuff like that, but for sure. So then I went and I saw Jack with that, and Jack and Chuck, and we met with John over at the police station, just to see what they thought. And then they didn't like it that much. So we came up with staggered speed humps. And we figured that some people will probably take 2 tires over to the side and take the speed hump at some calm, just to get out of a little bit. But I had no idea that when I went down to see it, that 5 for 5 would be totally on the other side of the road.
5 for 5?
5 for 5 on any given day.
It was.
They're getting better now because we changed the speed, we calmed them down a little bit.
Right.
So don't mind going
I mean, you
over
do have to turn pretty sharply to
To go
avoid.
around. It seems like it
hitting
slows you
to
down
do that.
anyways,
I mean,
right.
I wanted to get a sense of how fast and this and that, so I went. So
He was number
it's
4.
not so it's not so
No.
easy to do that.
And if you look at your speedometer, you're only doing it at 20 miles an hour.
Somebody has to
But you
slow down.
can't go on the other side of the road. And us putting it there, we invited, I don't know how we'd stand in court. So the idea, so we calmed them down with, and then we painted them up, and we labeled the street a little bit better. So because when it first came out, we didn't have all the signage and everything properly in place and stuff like that. But today I went down there, and I didn't see anybody going around them. I saw them going over them slow. And I'm trying to sell you anything here. I'm just saying that now that it's calmer and people see it and stuff like that, and maybe the police have monitored it a little bit better, I'm seeing people really using them. But the phone calls won't stop. And I get a phone call from a real concerned resident that contacted Jack, and she was right on the money with a lot of stuff. But the issues up there, if you review all the issues, is, and I wrote back to her because I just try to sit down and just think, what are we doing this for? We're doing it for speeding. We're doing it because it's a small, dark, and winding road. We're trying to calm the speed. We have tractor trailers that are accessing Hill Street early in the morning with deliveries, and that start up and stop of these trucks are waking up the neighbors right in that area. There's traffic from Gillette Stadium. There's all sorts of issues going up there, and I'm not so sure that, and I thought Jack was joking when he first said it, why don't we go up there and just fully develop this street into a street that has curbing and sidewalk and stuff like that, and that's the only way that you'd solve the problem up there, because the phone's going to ring no matter what you do. We can take those speed bumps out, and it was my plan to take those speed humps out, when we do Everett and Old Coach and Lafayette. When we grind them, I'll grind them out, and then if you want, we can put them back in straight across the street. But I thought that until that 2 weeks arrives, that you might want to think about what I'm telling you here, because as soon as we do that, phones are going to ring for something else. We took the speed signs out. We took the stop signs out, which is really not the best calming effort. Now I got to blacken the stop bar that says stop on the street. So I get calls for that because, so I don't know what's at these people, all good people, all great common sense complaints, but how do we satisfy all of them? And of course, we're not going to satisfy all of them, but
Well,
what do you think?
and Everett Street is near and dear to me, I guess, because it's been a long, this has been going on forever. To me, the number one concern is public safety. So a truck waking somebody up in the morning because they have to slow down, it's an inconvenience, preferred not to happen, but I wouldn't trade that for public safety. What I worry about, and we went down that day, and I felt all along that having those staggered bumps like that is an accident looking for a place to happen. And we went down that day, and that one, it was an old Volkswagen van. This is not a car that's going to turn well. Went around every single one of them. And what I worry about is on a day at the stadium where you've got some people that may not be thinking clearly.
For whatever
They're going to do that.
Former
and-
hockey players, say.
Whatever, pick on hockey players. They're going to do that, and there's going to be a bad accident. And so if I had my druthers, I'd have them straight across. I think slowing the traffic is the most important thing. And they do work. Mm-hmm. And so I know you're never going to satisfy everybody on that issue, but that would be my vote. I would put them straight across, slow the traffic down, make them clear. I don't think it impacts an emergency vehicle that significantly. I really don't. For the time it takes you to weave around versus just slowing slightly to go over, I think is I may be wrong, but to me it's insignificant, especially when you compare it to the risk of a Volkswagen bus zigzagging around every single one of them. And we were 1 for 1 that day. Even you didn't believe he did it on every single one with a guy right behind him.
Yeah, we
were right behind him.
We were tailing them.
And we were going over the speed
We
bumps.
weren't in a police car, but
Yeah, but that's just my 2 cents. I think that's the priority is public safety. And it's not the perfect answer. You're going to get complaints no matter what we do, but I think it's our best opportunity to create some degree of control over people speeding up and down that road. That's just my 2 cents.
you referred to my comment, and I've said it to the board before, maybe not recently, back 4 or 5 years ago when we talked about this. The ultimate goal, the ultimate solution, I think, is, as you said, to widen the road and put in the curbs and put in sidewalks and put in lighting. But that's
That's like $1 million thing, yeah.
well, it's a huge expense, and that'll that'll really irritate, I'm not
And
pushing
it,
for it because
it will
it'll
bring other
irritate.
issues. It will also bring other issues, because it's going to be a cut-through no matter what you do.
Well, it's
gonna-
easy to cut through it then.
It's
yeah.
gonna make the traffic faster, but it's gonna make it safer. if it-
Hypothetically safer.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing when we have a pot-filled road, and we pave it. We go from complaints about, I got
Agreed.
potholes on my road,
Speeding
to
on the road.
now I got people speeding.
But
on
it's
it.
not a financially feasible option.
Correct. So I agree with you. I think let's put the speed humps across and,
One of the complaints that I got too was a pretty good one, that it just happened and people didn't know about it. And normally I put out notices that a street's going to get paved, and that comes with open arms. This one here has such a diverse opinion that that I think I still should have done it, and I think I should still do it. So unless you have, if it's what we're going to do, I'd like to get some flyers out into the mailboxes of just, I don't want to write a Bible of things, all the sad stories that I just spoke about, but
Never hurts. I mean,
but then again, that may prompt phone calls, let's have a meeting on this and that kind of thing, and, at some point, you just got to do it. I understand, but I think it's harmless to tell them what we're doing.
yeah, I think we got to do what's best. I mean, going straight across. I thought the only issue was Jeff was going to talk to Chief Bushnell and Chief Stone to see, because he was the only one who had the issue with them straight across.
I talked to him, and
Yeah.
then Jeff and I had a conversation.
Walked by there and drove around a little bit.
Is he okay? I mean, I think straight across makes sense. I mean,
Looked
why
and
even have a
called
swerve?
Jack. Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
just like you said. If it doesn't ever happen, we're lucky. If no accident happens with a staggered, if straight across.
And you spoke with Westwood, because,
Mhm.
and it's on, I think, at least 2 streets that are heavily traveled. And it's-
More than that, I think they got like 8 streets that they did some kind of calming.
Yeah, and it
Thanks.
works. It
Saw
works.
some more too, I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it works.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any, I think the feedback you got from the town of Westwood was favorable.
Okay. Then I want to do it professionally. I want to do the clearing that's required and stuff like that, open up some visibility, properly have the signs in hand when we go to put them down.
Yep.
And I don't want to go back and patch it. I want it to look like professionals did it, because the last time we did it, we did have professionals do it, except that it was my design that made it too steep an on-ramp and too steep a decline. But, so I might talk to you about a little more Chapter 90 money, just for that.
Sure. I mean, there's good news. If the trucks are slowing down and then starting up, it's working.
That is happening, no matter what happens.
It's
People are
working.
telling me, you know what, people going over that at 30 miles an hour, but nobody's going over it at 50.
You're right. I mean, that range.
Not without going airborne.
You start getting 35, 40 miles
Yeah.
an hour, you want to be really thinking about,
You'd only do it on the
damaging
first
your
bump.
car. So you can, 35 is one thing with those. I think 35, you can do it without damaging your car, but you start
35,
going
I
over-
don't know, 35,
That's pushing it.
yeah.
No, it may depend
With
on
what
the-
we have
the
out there
car,
now.
But yeah.
Which raises the question, do we take down the speed limit signs? Because if you say 35, they think they can do 35, or is that good enough for just in between the speed bumps? I don't know what the law cites on that, or what the habit is for
I
that.
thought the speed limit was
I
30.
think the speed limit alone,
I thought it was 30 in the road. I thought it was 30.
it is what it is.
Are they
Yeah.
going to settle? Are they going to, those
No,
lumps, are they going to
no,
compact?
no. No matter how many times you ask me.
I'm having deja vu
shrink?
of
Are
the
they gonna-
planning board.
Now, you want to talk about a
planning
trench
board.
patch, that's going to keep going down.
We talk about materials of construction and all that stuff.
Now, that's
We don't do
pretty,
it. I don't do that anymore.
it might settle after a few winters
get
of
smaller on it.
plowing them, but if you want to leave it at
Okay.
that, then we can move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, because I think what you're hearing is none of us have.
I'll keep you
better
informed.
solutions.
I'll show Jack my little notice to the residents and extend that down into Walpole a little bit. I'll tell Walpole DPW what we're doing, and we'll go ahead and we'll schedule it. So it'll happen right around the same time that we do Old Coach. So I'm thinking in the month of July.
Thanks.
Yeah, it'd be, I guess I'd like to see it in July, Jim brought it up earlier, I just get concerned that somebody's gonna do one of those things, weave around it, and then, most probably don't want anybody to get hurt, but I also don't want us to have any liability, so
Yeah.
I don't wanna go,
It's almost July now, so we're there.
I know, I just don't wanna go, you were talking about another, if we wanna do a Chapter 90 request right now, so that if you need the money, I don't wanna, because we don't have another meeting.
Well, if you
till
want to
July
vote to
26th.
do it, I'll take a shot at the price. I could use $15,000 to $20,000 to do a proper job of going in, like, brush cleaning and,
Yeah, I agree, because we don't meet till the end of July.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if I can do that, and I can pass, you can come in and you're gonna sign the other ones anyways. I'll have the numbers ready for you, and, but that's all you're talking
sign?
about.
What's up?
Just too much to take out of the
You
operating
just,
budget.
they just signed them, so
We signed her already. Tonight's
Oh,
was
you
the
did?
sign.
Yeah, they're all signed.
Okay.
Good to go.
we are very
Oh,
efficient here, Bob.
Then why didn't you pass them out? The calcs were on the back.
They were.
Because Scott didn't tell me that he had them.
Gotcha.
My mistake, not his.
No, there's no mistakes. We all learn together. Humps,
So you're all
bumps.
set then?
Do we have to
So
vote?
If you guys
I
are
don't think
okay,
there's
sure.
anything in there for the 20 grand for,
No.
no. I will make a motion to approve up to $20,000 for speed bump
Humps.
work on
Redo.
Everett Street, up to $20,000 for speed bump work on Everett Street.
Clearing and all that.
Seconded.
Appropriate, necessary, ancillary work to get that accomplished. That's a long motion.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Man, we might have to sign something, though.
Just a point of clarification from Chapter 90. I forgot to say that.
So maybe next Tuesday we sign that paper, or sometime sign that paperwork.
I'll have it ready
Whenever
tomorrow.
Bob gets it over to us.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob, for that.
Another bit of DPW update that might be of interest to everybody is the state of our water. And I have invited along, if you don't mind, Ryan Allgrove is from Environmental Partners Group, who is our consultant scientists from, again, Environmental Partners. Ryan, thank you.
Ryan, how
Hello,
are you? Good
welcome.
to see you again.
What we do in water, just before I, just so you have some background, what we do in the water department is we rely heavily on our consultants, because we're just a small group. We have 3 people on the payroll. We have Whitewater, really is our consultant for treatment of potable water. They see the chemical feeds, they do the daily ops and the weekend ops, and they take a walk through our pump stations every day, and they keep a good eye on it. We do it too, we overlap their work, so we're really on top of it. Environmental Partners does a lot of our distribution oversight. We will get, as you know, Jeff, subdivision plans, we'll get building plans, proposals, we'll get mechanical drawings for fire suppression and so forth, and we give those to Environmental Partners to see that they and the board understand how much more usage that brings to us. Also cautioning the state of our water supply, which is not getting any better. So without getting into that, so I just wanted to introduce Environmental Partners as these are the people that do our site plan reviews and keep an eye on our water system. The last greatest publication that came from them was our water assessment, which just shows what we're permitted for, the growth. It has charts, and you've seen it before. I encourage anybody that hasn't seen it to read it, because it's kind of like, it just shows the growth of this town and the water that we have, that we need to go out and get some more water. So with that, and as I'm just chatting along, can I, Brian has brought something that I think is a little bit easier to read. It kind of tells us the investment that we've made so far. Can I ask you to pass that around? The investment that we've made so far through town meeting vote and special projects through our operating budget and stuff, in the process of new source development. This schedule here, I don't know, if I go like that, does the camera zoom in on it?
I'm not sure. Jack? I don't know if the camera
Or if
picks
it's
that up.
even necessary?
I don't know, Chris, do you want us to hang this on a wall someplace so you can...
This one here? Is that good there?
Like that.
Good.
You need one, Bob? No, you don't have one, though. Here. We have an extra one?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Here, that's what
Just keep your
I'm going to turn the show over to Ryan in just a second, but I just wanted to just conclude the introduction with that we're no secrets to we're in search of new source water development. I mean new source water, and I've asked Ryan to put this together. So if you look from the top and go down, and I'll be talking too much in a second here, you'll see what we already have spent and what we estimate will take us to final development of another well site.
Where do we see what we spent? I see the cost of groundwater exploration, for instance, is minus 110. Does that mean we haven't spent that yet? 'Cause
Yeah, that little squiggle line before the 110 is approximately 110. So if you look at the green line that goes down the middle, that's today. So to the left is kind of what you've done and what you've spent. So we did a desktop analysis in the beginning of last year for 13,200, and that was, we took maps of aquifers and land uses and stuff and picked 4 sites that we thought were potential sites for a groundwater source. And then the next step there, the groundwater exploration, that was done during the course of this year and or 2015 and into the spring of this year. And we, those 4 sites, we sent a drill rig out there, hydrogeologist. We drilled down to see what the material was like. Did a little test well to draw water out and see what the drawdown of the groundwater was. And basically, we're just looking to see if there is potential there for enough capacity for a municipal source. So out of those 4 sites, 2 of them we more or less hit bedrock, 10, 20 feet down. So those sites aren't gonna work. We did a drill over by the existing Spruce Street well, or Gold Street well, excuse me. And we were able, to pull maybe 100 gallons a minute. So it was better. It wasn't bedrock, but certainly not enough to pursue as a source for the town. And
It's hard to read it on a slant, so if you could put it up on the bulletin board, maybe?
Up over there next to the calendar?
Try behind the flag, so
It's not a bulletin board.
yeah,
Yeah,
It's not a bulletin board, so
okay, then on top of this map,
so small.
just wipe out Brookline. That'll be fine.
they have speed bumps.
And lumps. The shrinking.
so the 4th site that we went to look at on Holbrook Street, or off of Holbrook Street, right on the town line. It's a parcel that the town doesn't own, and for typically a groundwater source is a deep well that you need a 400-foot radius around that you have to own. So we look at the parcel, and there was room there to get a 400-foot radius if you put a well right in the middle. And so we did a test well there right in the middle, and unfortunately the material in that location wasn't great. There was the aquifer, or it was silty, or I can't remember exactly what the problem was, but it wasn't going to work for a supply well. But based on the depth of the sand and gravel material, we thought that it was a potential and that on that site to do a well field. And a well field is a minimum of 3 shallow wells, so your pump can only be down 28 feet maximum from below the ground, and your radius is only 250 feet. So it's kind of, then the wells have to be within 50 feet. So instead of having one kind of deep well, you have 3 smaller wells that are drawing from closer to the surface, the groundwater levels. So we did a series of test wells in that location, 50 feet apart, trying to figure out exactly where the better material was. And, we got a few wells that were between 200 and 300 gallons a minute. The way the well fields work is, if you've got 4 wells that are 300 gallons a minute, that doesn't mean you have 1,200 gallons a minute because they're all influencing each other. But the results were promising enough that, we think it's worth pursuing a well field on that site. The radius is, everything's within that parcel, so you're not trying to buy land from all these other parcels around it. And like I said, the potential capacity, we won't know until we do the long-term pump test, but 400 or 500 gallons a minute is certainly a possibility, which for the situation that the town's in would be great.
I'm sorry, can I answer? So does that mean, then because it's 4 little ones, that's still roughly the same construction cost, Bob, $1.5 million? I mean, I don't mean to jump ahead, Ryan, if I'm stealing, I'm just...
That's okay, because I would have liked to have had the, right now what we have is what we have. We have a water quality that is very, very good. There's no,
This place you're talking about.
Yeah, the water quality on this site is very similar to the water quality you have in your existing wells. So the iron and manganese were not detected, so that's always the first thing we're looking for in New England. And the only thing is the pH was low because it's groundwater, and so you'd have to add, a chemical to raise the pH, which is what you do at your existing facilities. So it's basically the same water quality you have.
one thing I just want to make sure, and it's clear that so far we spent, the 13.2 for the desktop. We spent the 110 to be where we are right this minute. The very next step, which is very telling, before we ask for more money, because the next crop of money is over to, well, what is it? It's right there. $250,000. We want to spend $20,000 to do a modeling. And I'm going to ask Ryan again, but it's been good advice to me that we don't go ahead and ask for $250,000 until we do this modeling. What's the rate of success, can you tell us, given what we have right now for knowledge, how successful is the modeling? Say if it says it's good for $500,000, how often does that prove positive?
I mean, what are the chances that what we expect will show up in the modeling?
Well, right now we got,
How valuable is the modeling?
Right.
In this
Exactly.
case, maybe
Well,
for a
I think
well
it's
field versus a well,
it's
maybe
basically
that's-
work that has to be done anyways as part of the next step. So as part of the request for site exam, we have to do that modeling plus a whole bunch more to see the Zone 2 extents of the well, which is, where they'd be drawing water from in a really bad drought, and to oversimplify it. So that $20,000, that's kind of the first step of, the modeling that they would have to do anyways for the rest of it. So if it works out, it's not like you threw $20,000 away. You're taking a baby step towards where you were going anyways.
But you're just modeling on that site, so it's not like modeling across all potential sites in Norfolk. It's modeling on
It's
this.
it's that
Exactly.
site. So what we want to make sure is that the influence of the different wells on each other isn't so great that it doesn't make it worth it. And one of the 4 wells that we drilled on its own got a little bit over 300 gallons a minute, and then there was a bunch around it that were at like 200, a little over. So
Looking for, I'm sorry, the gallons per minute. What's the goal about your best one? What is it? Yeah.
when you go to the end of this thing and you add up the expenses and you're talking $2 million, and we don't know what the purchase of the land is, so there's a couple things that we need to shut the door and talk about. But I think we wouldn't want to make that kind of investment unless we get 500 gallons a minute.
Is that good? Is that what goal? I mean, again, what's good?
We don't have anything that gives us that right now. We have wells that began at 500. Al, is it 500 without too long? But
Spruce Road used to give us 500 a minute, one well. That well was just rehabbed, and it's only giving us 110 gallons a minute today.
Because of the source or the well? The well's not.
Plugged iron and manganese. A plume of iron came in and plugged the.
The arteries are clogged.
Yeah, you can't
recover.
can't unclog it. I mean, I don't want to make it simple, but it seems like you lost.
No, well, Ryan can probably go more into it, but the screen is plugged with iron and manganese. We've tried to rehab this well 3 or 4 times now, and it's just declining and getting worse. So we've
it's
gone
better
from
than
500 to...
then the iron and manganese comes
'Cause
back
it's-
in.
'cause it's sucking
And they
in too
plunge
much.
it out, and they plunge it out, and then it comes back in. But it takes a year or maybe 2 or 3 even, but it's still giving us that water.
Obvious question, I think, Bob. At what point do we know for sure that we have a viable site? It sounds like we're pretty close to thinking we have a viable source.
yeah,
But-
well, yeah.
But my question is, we don't own the property.
No, we don't.
So there's a point where we need to work through that issue.
Mm-hmm.
And, and it needs to be at the front end of major expense, but yet at a point where we have a high level of confidence that it's going to work.
To me, Jim, the modeling is going to reveal our decision.
That's my question.
So if they say 300 to 500 gallons in the modeling, and that's what I asked Ryan, what's the success rate of these models? If you did 50 of them, how accurate is the 300 to 500 gallons? And if he said 90%, then I would say we need to look at the cost of the land.
Okay.
Because then it gets up, now we're pushing 3.
What is the price on the land now?
Not
It's been
sure.
for sale for like 6 years.
Not sure. Not sure. I have talked to the owner, and great guy, just go ahead, Bob, go ahead and dig, drill, whatever. But I don't know what he's
I've asked-
asking. Maybe you
I've
can
asked
tell me.
Dave to look at put together, whether it's an offer or some other mechanism, whatever he suggests. just so we can have something that has, obviously as a contingency for us to get out of if the modeling goes bad.
Well, that's where I'm going with this. I mean, I think the sooner we do that,
Yeah,
the better, where we can get an agreement with the owner.
Yeah.
Because, you don't want to get too deep into this and all of a sudden have a different price, so to
Yep.
speak. You kind of know where I'm going with
Right.
that.
Well,
'Cause
not only
there's-
that,
There's, besides whether or not the water in the aquifer works, and yeah, we can get 500 gallons a minute, there's all this permitting to go through, so, what DEP is going to say and throw back at you is yet to be known. Now, I don't think there's any insurmountable hurdles as far as the permitting goes.
No, I just think, to Jack's point, I think you said it correct. I think we need to move reasonably quickly
Oh, yeah.
to work out some type of contingency purchase on this property that
And have it set as a,
that
set
that
back.
allows us the opportunity to purchase it at a specific price, but also if something fails,
Right.
we have some way of getting out, maybe with a small fee or something,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Right. And kind of
not
the
a total free
drop-dead
ride, but
point at when you need to have the well is, it's all the way when we're in design. So, I mean, I think at that point, before you need it,
I would just suggest we
you're gonna have
do
it.
this
Yeah,
reasonably
and-
quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
Ryan's concern is, I think, or his focus is to make sure that we have the land to put the well in. Your concern, and mine, is that we don't want to,
What the price of
we
that
don't
will
want
be.
to get too far down
Right.
the thing before we start dancing.
Correct.
I mean, the good news is we always have eminent domain,
We do, but
as a
that's,
last resort, so that we don't
a
get,
friendly dance is always a better dance.
absolutely.
And I've been in that situation, all of a sudden somebody finds out they own the golden goose and everything
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
It happens.
And
And the other thing is, people pass away, things it's a long process. We're talking 2019 before construction's done. So, anything can happen in 3
I
years.
think the owner of this property is up there in age, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I'm not trying to curse them or anything,
Oh,
but
please.
Yeah.
anything can happen in 3 years.
That's good of you.
another thing is that we can't stop here. 300 to 500 gallons is not going to be
Right.
our success in the future, because, like I always say, 50 years will come. We need to grab as many sites as we can and put them on hold for future development. So we got the little thing going on, the Placido's got a little development up of Lawrence Street, and if we can work out with them what's
Little.
going on.
It's not little.
Well, there's some water up there, and we've tested it, and it's got some promise, maybe equivalent to this. Then there's, just to give you some scale, again, we have Mill River site, purchased that for some $700,000, $800,000 in the 80s. Tested it, and when we were cranking that thing up full blast, we were getting 1,500 gallons a minute. I don't know how prolonged that test was, but we have the information to back that up. That gets involved with Franklin and Kingsbury Pond and that situation. Then there's then if we could just go to the state school again, I keep saying that. Haven't been there yet. I know you like to come along and stuff like that, but that's something that's in place, and that's something that could give us water, because DEP we've talked to, soon, much sooner than any of these planned jobs.
Is there room on De Placido's proposed plan to still have the necessary
like the 400-foot radius.
acreage?
Oh, yeah.
for-
Yeah.
Okay, so the place you looked doesn't intrude on where he's proposed this development?
No, he could make it work. It depends on how the planning board and De Placido work things out.
Well, this would be a ZBA, because it's a It's
At
a
this point, I
40B.
thought I thought we didn't know that for sure.
It's a 40B.
Okay.
Well, he's not filed yet, but he said he's going to file, so.
Yep. That's where I
But
get a little lost. I don't know the
irrelevant
politics
of what neighborhood gets to play with it, there is the additional acreage that doesn't intrude on where,
Not when we were first talking and 40B wasn't involved. Now I don't know what happens
We
to
can
that.
relook at the new plans, but I don't think he's moved his subdivision plans, so.
no, it's in the same place he originally proposed.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So conceptually, Jack, do you think we might have something that we could review maybe in August, or, with Fourth of July
For a
holiday,
purchase?
vacation? Yeah, just,
yeah,
some
yep.
type of, and it would have contingencies
Yeah.
for whether it's productivity, quality, whatever the case might be, from a technical as well as the DEP. Does this involve EPA as well in terms of approvals? and-
there's no direct submittals to EPA. It's all through DEP. I mean, a lot of programs come down from EPA through DEP, but there's DEP drinking water program, and then also MEPA, which is concerned with environmental, like endangered species in the area,
yeah,
stuff like
right,
that. We have to go
right.
through that whole thing too.
How long does the modeling take?
I think 6 weeks.
30 days.
No.
You want 30 it says 30 days on here, doesn't it, duration?
Oh yeah, not 30 calendar days. 30 working days.
All right, so that's a month and a half.
6
Looks
weeks.
like a month and a
Yeah,
half.
6
Hey,
weeks.
6 weeks, you're right. So I thought you said 6 months, yeah, all right.
No, not 6 months. 6
So
weeks.
by mid-August, roughly.
Yeah.
And if we could have the other work in works by our end of July meeting,
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly put an offer together. It shouldn't be, the purchase of property should not be a very complicated document. I mean, it's not,
but we'd have to
Just
get that
listing
on the
the
fall
types
town
of-
meeting.
well, I think that would be one of the, I think one of the contingencies for the offer would be that we also get approval from town meeting.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, we'd have to try and get it on the agenda
Oh, wow,
for
yeah,
fall
yeah.
town meeting, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because your report, if I remember, if you just took the number of people that are eligible to hook up that haven't, it exceeds our capacity.
If they all did it,
Yeah.
like I say, next Thursday, yeah,
It would exceed our capacity.
right.
Yeah. And there's kind of two ways that we looked at it. You have your Water Management Act permit, which is how much you can take out of the ground. And, in that study, we basically showed that you just squeak by over the next 20 years based on the developments that were in the queue at that time. I think it was 2013. And then you have what your pumping capacity is. So, like Al alluded to, 500 gallons a minute is now 100 gallons a minute at one well. And right now, if one of your wells goes down, you don't have the redundancy to keep up in the summer. So now you're buying water from the neighbors. So I think that's almost, in my mind, more than your ability to get water out of the ground is just to have that redundancy and peace of mind that if a well has an issue, you turn on the other well and you're still going to get by in the summer. That's kind of, the two sides of the coin.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So in terms of the application for, I mean, there's probably multiple applications, but the work that was done back in 2013, that report that, we've all read, a lot of that information will be directly applicable to that process, or is there gonna have to be some updating, if you will, of information?
Should be updated once a year. I just took a shot at that.
I'm just
but
wondering
I-
costs, in terms of what costs
Oh,
are
I
reflected
think,
here. Or do we have some of those costs behind us because it was done as part of that?
Well, I think it's
exercise?
certainly easier to update the report, easier to update it than it is to start from scratch. But, I think, this 250,000 a request for site exam pumping tests, I had included updating that as updating the analysis of your developments and everything, what the next 20 years will bring for water demand. Because if you look a little bit down and under DEP and MEPA approvals, you have your Water Management Act application. So that's no matter what, you're going to have to apply for a Water Management Act amendment because you're installing a new source. But as part of that, if you need to increase your withdrawal because the potential development in town looks like it's going to outpace what you're allowed to take out of the ground now, that would be the time as part of that application to try to get that amended, get that in that amendment as well. That makes the permit a little more rigorous to get when you're, DEP makes it harder for you to get more out of the ground than it does to just add another straw into the cup.
Redundant well, yeah.
So and Bob, I know you have enough capital to get us down to the pre-construction era. I know you've got the funding for that, so we can get to that point, I think, under existing capital needs, right? If I remember.
Right.
And if you look at the dating potential of this, if this all works, hypothetically, we hope. So you're looking at 3 years.
Yeah.
And the projects that we know about right now have the potential of adding, not even counting single-family homes that are individual, A&R lots, so to speak. We've got over 500 units that people are trying to work with us on. 4 major projects, De Placido's being one. I mean, that's 200 units up there. But they probably, I mean, he's talking 10-year build-out. And probably at least 2 to 3 years before he even starts, would be my guess. So this really becomes really critical at this
Same thing
timeframe.
for Southwood, right?
Yeah, yeah, same thing there. I mean, there's the smaller ones we can, the 40, while everything new is an issue, it's not, putting 400 on Tuesdays, not within our ability. But the build-up the timing would work. I thought it was longer than 3 years. Is that an optimistic date?
No, I mean, I think it's a reasonable
Okay.
we obviously we don't know what we don't know. DEP, when they're reviewing things, they can come back and say we want this, and there can be some back and forth. So, we allotted time for DEP's review and all these steps. If you look at this, a significant chunk of this is kind of sitting around waiting.
Yeah.
And we've done a lot of projects like this, so this is what we expect it to take for DEP's review.
Well, this is the first really good news we've had on this in a long time.
Yeah. No, well, it doesn't mean you can go to sleep on this
I'm
at all,
not suggesting that, but we haven't had a,
Yeah, just give you some
we've been up to
startling.
bat, we haven't had many hits.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Steve Olson was my liaison with environmental partners, so I think you also got to know that we went to Stop River, and that didn't pan out. We went to Harold Forest Campbell, and that didn't pan out. We went back to, you mentioned Gold Street, that only gave us 110,000. That's not the kind of water you want to sink $1 million into, but you want to preserve that circle. Anytime you get a circle that says that you can drill and get well water there, there's other things you can do. You can frack and you can go deeper and stuff like that at more expense. But lately, bad news is that water's being abused out there on lawns through irrigation. The same old thing that you've heard before. Al put together some statistical data here, and on a typical fall day or something like that, we probably pumped 300,000. We don't need the gallons, but now we're up to 800,000, and people are trying to drown out the sun. Don't know what they're doing. Starting up lawns, that's forgivable, but we had a pump go down. Jack, I think you might know that the satellite pump at Gold Street went down, and when that happens, we usually go to the interconnect and ask our neighbors from Rentham to give us some supplemental water, which costs us money. And by the way, when we were cleaning the Spruce Road well, there was a $20,000, $30,000 worth of water bought through the interconnection, where normally it's just say free because it's ours and underground. But Rentham advises us, why do you need water? Well, because everybody's irrigating. Well, we get the same problem. We want to give you water if everybody's irrigating. So this interconnect is really sacred to us. And if we don't do our part, they're not going to give us water. And
We have this guy, at the same time, I mean, I know we don't want to, like you said, Bobby, people are irrigating. I mean, I guess because we've approved the water rates, why not make it so punitive that if they really want to do it, they're going to help fund a new well? Not fund it, but you know what I mean? If they start using water to do an existing lawn, that's going to cost them $20,000 a summer. And if it's worth it to them, that's a good chunk of money. It still doesn't help out deplete water supply.
pay for the interconnect, the water.
Because the other non-abusers are paying the price for that, right? They're funding.
I'd rather appeal to their good common sense and the need that we're all in this together. nobody knows what it's like to be out of water. Imagine if we, shut down and we didn't have water going in the houses without wells, what would we do? We had a fire, we had a well go down.
They move into the houses that have wells.
The house would get full. She has a lot of
I'm
space.
being
Not that day.
facetious. No,
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of a pet peeve of mine anyway. We have a bylaw that says that you can't have an irrigation system on town water. Why don't we enforce it?
We didn't want to, I thought we didn't want to,
Well,
because,
But it's
No, it's kill-
it's having a significant impact on our ability to meet basic needs.
I'm all for it. I mean, I don't have.
Well, we did a reverse 911, and the enforcement's the big thing here. So we need to go out. We know who's on it because we have a KP system. We have a monitoring SCADA system that tells us that this resident here, who normally uses, so many gallons a day, 300 gallons a day for a family of 4 or 5, is now using 2,500 gallons a day. And they get a swimming pool and they get a green lawn when other lawns are yellow. So we can go and know that they don't have we can go right to them and give them a warning. And we've had experiences out there that weren't very pleasant. We've gone out there and we've told people, we know you're buying a house. We've seen people with sprinkler systems on town property, on the loom borders. Said, you better take that out, because if, the guy just yes us and shuts the door and goes in the house.
What, an underground sprinkler system? Sprinkler head
Irrigation
on town?
systems are all shallow underground, as you know.
They're only
Some
about
people
6
go
inches.
across the sidewalk and put it in the loom border so that,
The grass looks nice,
if
it's
you have the
town
water, I
property.
would say that's commendable. First of all, that would be commendable if we had the water.
Right,
But
yeah,
right
it is.
now, we're not in a position to support lawn growth. It's just, and then these developments come on and you start to worry. And then I refer back to the water assessment report, and on every site plan review we do, we ask the planning board, and we don't, I'm not pointing no fingers at all, any fingers, but we mention on that, we got to be aware of what's going on with review of the water assessment report. But it's kind of like, what do we do,
And do they have to get do you have to get a permit to be able to put an irrigation system in? So we can-
Irrigation systems are good for people, they get it through the Board of Health with wells.
No, I know what you mean, but,
Yeah.
so I'm just trying to track
They
it.
don't need a permit to put in an irrigation system.
Okay, so that way we
They
know
need a permit
too.
if they're connecting to our water system, to our water system, they need a plumbing permit,
Right.
which we wouldn't
So
obviously
which
give
we
them.
wouldn't give
Right.
to them.
Some of the developments we know have put wells in for their irrigation systems.
Exactly.
Right.
A lot of them haven't.
Right.
A lot of people that have irrigation systems that are on town water. A lot.
Can't you publish a
So
list?
it's a campaign. If we do it, it's a campaign. It's all out.
I mean, I have an irrigation system, I have my own well.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not using it. My lawn's
Too hot
burning
now.
up because, it's the same water source, doesn't matter. But I don't know, it's just something that I don't understand why we don't enforce it.
Well, I mean, we don't enforce it because we never, a couple of reasons. I mean, we've talked about it before and never, all gotten on board saying, okay, we're gonna definitely enforce this. The real reason, though, is, even though our bylaws say that you can't have a irrigation system connected to town water, but there's no enforcement mechanism. There's no police fine in our bylaws.
Oh, there isn't, so there's no.
Even if there were, Franklin and you talk about what Bob does, he goes to the court system, and the clerk doesn't want to have anything.
they're not
They end up throwing them out. So, Brutus over in Franklin tells a story about how he did it one night. He went out and ticketed 125 people, and the clerk laughed him. He said, I don't have time for this. This is, so he wiped them all out. I think Scott's point earlier is the real mechanism is we make the rate system work so that people that are using a lot of water are going to pay for it, and then they're going to self-monitor.
So there's
I
no,
think you have to do that, because I can't envision anything else really being effective. But now I don't know whether that is something that's a year-round type thing. The problem is, July, August, whatever, there's a certain period where certain surcharge rates or something apply. I don't know.
Well, they're still
Well,
using the water. They're using it year-round. I want to charge them because it's still draining our system, right? Whether it's winter,
we
to do ice rinks.
we
whatever.
tiered the system many years ago.
It is still,
to do
yeah.
that very thing. If
It's
the
just
more
not
you
punitive
use, the
enough,
higher
though.
you higher
Yeah,
your rate.
yeah,
So
it's-
we
right.
did that when we set this all up many years ago. So that person is paying a higher rate for that water usage anyway.
But it must not bother
But
him or her.
it does, if they're willing to pay it, it's the impact that's the problem.
Well, I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
I think that peer pressure is big too. Like, talk frankly, we need people to help rat out your neighbor if you have to. Some people are really doing, you don't want to say that, I know, but there are some people that are struggling not to keep their lawns, or they're doing it at a minimum at 5 o'clock in the morning when you're supposed to do it. And then there's other people out there just blasting away, and
All day, every day.
the end result could be just devastating to the people of this town. So I think it's, it's outreach, it's the penalizing, it's,
We can't enforce.
It's
We have to do it.
enforcement.
I mean, you have to kind of do it,
You know,
other than shaming, you have to do it through the
thank you for
rates.
reminding, I know we had this debate before, and I remember you saying that, and I forgot that it's
Every
just,
year.
we have a bylaw that we can't, there's no penalty, and it'd get thrown out.
I thought there
so.
was an enforcement. It's not wanting $25, $50 or something like that. I thought
But the
that there was
clerk-
some-
Yeah, but
What happens
they-
is
they
the clerk-
appeal it.
There may be, but I know for certain the clerk
It's a kid.
is
They get-
going
the
to...
system's
They
already
appeal
too
it, he
full.
throws it out,
Rentham-
we're just wasting everybody's time.
Rentam's too full as it is. They don't have time to hear that, even though
I
it's,
mean, it'll solve some of the problem. Some people
Yeah,
will
get scared and don't
not
wanna go to
like
court.
getting the, they don't want to go to court and appeal it. So we'll get some people. We may just get some people that pay the $25 fine. And
Right, and keep doing
then turn on the sprinkler the next day.
Well, some of these people that water their lawns, if they put a well in and the well costs $6,000, after 3 years, they get all that water they want and it's paid for, because they're gonna pay us for it. So it's almost financing. If, these little educational tools are helpful too. Let them know that. And some people can spend up to $12,000 on a well.
Bob, you said you can identify kind of the heavy users. You want to do public outreach, and even though they're hearing us on TV, why don't you tailor a letter to those folks, well, like naming names, but lo and behold, Jack Hathaway gets a nice little letter from DPW talking about conservation, talking about what you just said. If you pay us all these fine money and put your own well in, 3 years down the road, you're getting free water, you can irrigate night and day, and just target the people that are doing it.
Yeah. Well,
We can say to the whole water users, that's
I
fine
just-
too, but
I-
if you know the people, I would. go
Order
on.
of magnitude, Bob, where the sprinklers come into play, is it increasing the usage by 25, 50%, 100%?
50%?
It's that.
We had a struggle with all the leaks. We got the leaks down to 2 leaks, right? One of them was on our side of the hydrant. That's all we came up with. That's how much effort we put into finding these leaks and paying the cost for leak detection twice a year. Now we have reports that show, because we have a SCADA system, so we know how much water we pump out of our wells. Here's that figure. All that water should go through meters, and that should pay us. So if we're pumping out 1 million and we're only metering 900,000, we're losing 100,000. That's called unaccounted for water. Now we have communication with the fire department because they go on training and they do it. So the DEP wants this registered. They want to know where's your unaccounted water going to. So we have, and he does every single morning, sit next to me, find out all these criticals. We call them criticals. We set thresholds for alerts. So if all of a sudden, and it's beneficial to the user too, because some lady might be using 200,000 gallons in 3 days in a row, and it's no need to, because find out that her toilet's been running or something's gone while she's on vacation. So we notify her. We get in and we save her a bundle. But then we also see the abusers that are just spraying the water on their lawn. And even then, there's an education. Use, if I say it, then I kind of encourage it. But if you're gonna use it, you got to use it in those 2 hours at 4 and 6 in the morning. That's when it's most beneficial. That's what I'm been told.
it's different
If
time.
you use it at midnight,
It evaporates
you could-
before it gets in the ground if you're doing it in the middle of the day.
Of course, and it has a little time to perk a little bit, and it settles underneath the sun in the root system, and it keeps the root ball a little bit moist. You do it during the day, it has that burn. It's like being, jumping out of the water in the ocean. You get out and then you sit in the sun, you get all that salt on you, and you just burn up.
Like I said,
If
you don't
that's-
want to encourage it. I mean, again, we have to come up with something. You put a sign on the lawn saying, "Congratulations, you're abusing the water system." Like the signs they have for graduation, right? You can put signs on the lawn.
Al, you've
Thanks.
been
I don't-
dealing with this for a long time. Do you have any suggestions?
I've spoke to other towns. I don't know if this can be done legally. You give them a warning. We have a fining in place, or it was voted on years ago, a $50 fine, then $100 per event. We send them a bill. We give them a fine, and we put it on their bill. It goes on their water bill. If they don't pay it, we lien the house. I mean, that's a way to get the money without going to courts. it's a bill. They use the water, we fine them for using it, and if they don't want to abide, they get a $500 fine, it goes on their water bill. They continue, we give them another $500 fine, it goes on their water bill. They don't pay the water bill, then the town has the right
Then
to
we
lien
lien
the
it.
home.
That's one good
Hadn't
thing.
heard that theory. That's a good theory.
It is a good theory. Good job, Al. And the other thing we can do is, I think we have voted on that we have the right to shut them off. Shut them off at the street is a real wake-up call.
Yeah,
But they use it for bathrooms. That's
yeah,
the
You don't
tough
always
one.
turn it on.
Yeah,
But
there's-
if you want to
there's
really get the
problems
attention.
you
Yeah,
get into
I-
with,
I would not do that.
health, boards of health
Some
and
towns
everything.
do that. Am I right?
I like-
There's some towns?
Well, yes, but I just found out through talking with Whitewater Net that there's a law, the Massachusetts state law says they are able to get 1 cup of water over a 24-hour period. We can't close the valve down to do that, so we can't,
You can't
we
shut
can't
them
shut
off.
them off
Just like if you
because
have
of that
rental
rule, but-
property,
I
I
mean,
don't
whatever
think you
issues
can't
we've got,
shut
we
down
can't
electricity or
put our
water.
family at risk like that.
Water.
But all I'm saying is, I don't think we'd ever do that for this thing, but it is there. It does say that you can do that, and it is part of the water, of the DEP's MGL, I forget what it is. I wouldn't want to do that, of course.
Well,
But-
could we possibly explore that option that Al just suggested? I'd not heard that before, that did.
Jack's writing it down. We're going to do that.
Send, I mean, it just, if I hear it, you're saying we send a notice to them saying that you're obviously consuming more than you should, cut back, I'm simplifying.
Right.
Next cycle that you evaluate, they haven't made any change, and tell them, there'll be a fine, a meaningful fine that will be assessed on your water bill. And then it does, I know if they don't pay, it becomes a lien on the property, so you're gonna get it one way or the other.
I mean, unfortunately, this always comes up when you really
When- I
need
know.
the help, you know, so our next meeting being in July, you know, unless we do something sooner than that, but I think we want to review some practical concepts here and make a decision as far as which one is best for our community, so.
Well, we're doing nothing now, so doing something's got to help, right? We're doing.
So we should certainly do that. My concern
With
is,
you on that one, Scott.
No, I mean, I know you're saying, Joe.
My
I don't wanna
concern is gonna be
overreview it.
July.
Right, no,
It's
let's do it
gonna
now. I mean, I don't know, we have to give out the, it's in our bylaw, you're saying it's in our regs out, we can,
I believe we have a bylaw that says no irrigation at all, first of all.
right, we know that.
Second of all, I
We
believe
do.
the selectmen voted on fines back in the day. We do have it right in somewhere.
Yep, and it was reaffirmed in '97. It's right in our bylaws. It says we'll do this, this,
So we don't
this.
have to meet, I'm just trying to rush things along, so at least start that, maybe
I mean,
slows
you
down one
comfortable that
person.
we can come up with something and implement it without
Sure.
this board reconvening and?
It's kind of like a bylaw policy. don't think
yeah,
it needs
I
our
think,
approval. It's a law, right?
We can definitely,
Just not a lot of money.
thanks Al for the,
No, I
putting it
mean,
on the water bill. I love that idea, because then there's a way of actually making sure that we get it, which
It's
is.
still not enough, though, because as you said,
Yeah.
I want the $20,000. I mean, I don't know what the right
But
punitive
we're
number
gonna
is.
start finding them on a daily occurrence, if it, that's, you keep
Oh,
finding them $100 a day.
No,
It's
that's a-
it's like a, it's
we
like the
need to
building
warn
permit
people.
fines.
We need to inform people and give them the opportunity to, as you say, work with us to
Yeah,
solve
we'll
the
educate them
problem.
first, and
If people slam the door on you,
But there's a 3-day drought coming, a 3-day heat wave or something like that. The reverse 911 does work, but then they fall back into it. They forget about it.
no.
But it is something that at least, and I know you like to save that for special, but this is special. And then I think we got like 8 or 10 days ahead of us with very little rain in the forecast. We're gonna get murdered.
Yeah, we gotta stop that. I mean, I don't know.
Well, to me, it's an issue long overdue to deal with. I think we have to do something. I mean, you're doing all you can do. You've been very aggressive at looking for new sites. You've explored a number of different opportunities. I mean,
Plug the
we're
leaks.
doing all we can do to solve the problem within the time frame that we, it's not like we're sitting around not trying to solve it. It just, unfortunately, it's a very time-consuming process. And in the meantime, we have a problem.
So is it reasonable to ask that we draft something and perhaps just distribute it to us so that, we can make our individual comments and hopefully arrive at something that we can implement sooner rather than later, I think is what we need to do.
Do we,
Could we do a reverse 911 anyway, immediately?
I would,
yeah, we've done them, we did one
Like
a
you
month
said.
or so ago. I would be happy to do
To
it
to
all.
ask for,
it's-
help us here.
If you choose the right words, I think there's some powerful meaning in there, you can look in the mirror with some of the things you could say, but it's all true. you know.
Yeah, you don't have to be that nice. You
Need
might
you
want to
help
warn them
us
that
help
fines
you.
are going to, we're going to have to, you know, because of the seriousness of the situation, we're going to, you know, we're going to be enforcing our bylaw and implementing fines as necessary too. Besides adults coming, please, you know, don't encourage them to do it from 4 to 6. I know what you're saying. If that's the worst case scenario, they're going to do it smartly, but.
So there's things that are involved, and maybe if we can, if it sounds like you're in favor of some ideas, maybe we formulate these ideas, because what's the method of citing these people? How do we find, we're gonna ride around at 4 in the morning, we're gonna use this? So there's a couple things I'd like to work out with Al and,
Do a straw man on it, you know, do a straw man, here's a plan, A to B, C, D, all of the different components, and take a look at it and see Jeff's idea, you know, we'll look at it individually, see if we can come to consensus
Yeah.
and get it done.
I mean, if you can come up with an analytical way to do it so that it's objective and nobody can contest
Well,
the objectivity of it, you
you know,
know, I mean, the normal bill is that, you know, the usage is this, and all of a sudden it's that, but
this is
I'm-
exposure. This is kind of like what you were saying, but,
Is that
I
names?
remember looking at that a couple of years ago, and you have it by name,
oh, yeah.
you know, so you know who the people are.
Yeah, right at the
And
top.
it
Why is
was
the top Jack Hathaway?
glaringly obvious.
Why is that?
Glaringly obvious.
It's Hathaway.
Hathaway's in the third on the list, isn't
Speaking
he?
awfully
that was
bravely
tops
for the
this
man
year.
who has a well. Better.
Worse is Jeff. Sorry, you're on there. You're going to pass out the gym. It doesn't say names, but so it tells you what they pumped and metered. Yeah, it shows you. No names.
I remember that. I remember
Uh-oh.
that.
Well, I'd like to see that, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
He's afraid to give it to me.
Yeah. No, it doesn't, unfortunately, it doesn't have my address on it.
I think I'm the only one, I'm the only one here on well. You-
No, I'm in a
You're
well.
on well?
I'm in a well. I could hook up the town water.
This
but I don't
isn't
wanna
the
burn
individual
Bob's
properties,
system.
this is just
I'm holding off for you,
No,
Bob.
but
I'm the last guy.
you have a list with the names.
pumped versus metered.
It's the billing, it's our billing, and
Yeah.
So for those of you watching home, Bob has your name. And Al will come to your door.
I don't want to go to the door, to be honest with
No, it's, no, I know.
Don't blame you, Al.
another thing too, Jeff, having the experience of the planning board, is maybe that's in the decisions as well. No irrigation, you know, in these subdivisions, in these site plans. I mean,
Okay,
with
'cause
some
how we-
point,
Yeah, see, that's the problem. I mean, I was thinking about that earlier too, Bob, but that's not where the problem is. The problem is once the person buys the home, you know, unless it's something you put in the
Right.
deed, I guess, and even that.
Because they don't get a permit, right? They do it.
Before
We
we-
have a bylaw.
exactly, but before we accept the street, they're already in. There's no threat of repercussion. The developer's got to make sure, you want the street accepted? No.
Now, then I agree with you.
I got it.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I
I mean,
guess.
but they're selling houses and
To the
probably
extent-
encouraging it.
To the extent that they might argue that the well is gonna be constructed, you know, by the homeowner at some future unknown date or whatever. So we would have to think through all the ramifications
exactly.
of trying to do that.
Or you can bring up my dreaded idea before, because we have the bylaw, you have to have town water. I mean, you can always rethink the idea of making every new development have town water too, right? That's just, because we're forced it onto a system that's already burdened. Right? My house was built, there was no town water offered on my street. So, I mean, I'm perfectly happy with my well. I get to water my lawn, which I do.
Yeah, that's a catch-22.
It is a catch-22, because it's going to drain the same aquifer. I mean, it really is, you know.
Yeah,
I'm
but I
not saying
mean,
do it, I mean, we struggle with this problem, but we force all the developers to go on town water, which, because Bob wants to loop the system. I get that too. We want to loop,
Yeah.
get a flow. There's a lot of good reasons to do that at the same time.
And we want people to help pay for it.
You know,
That's another thing, kind of interesting, and boy, I'm going to get a lot of hate mail.
his name is Bob McGhee. Let me hear his address.
Thanks for backing me up, Scott.
No, I'm there for you, Bob. I'm right down the street for you. Send him
But
my way.
I was talking to somebody like over in, I think it was John Marini was saying he's doing a development up there. He did one in Walpole, and to get on the Walpole sewer, the rate to get on the sewer was like for a 10-house site development was like 30-something thousand or
Well, he's MWRA, though.
MWRA.
Right.
But what they do is, and the reason for that is because there's a lot of I&I. I&I is the inflow and infiltration into sewer. You're a sewer man, right? Mm-hmm. And that's huge in the new permits coming out. And so they don't want to have clean water being dumped in the sewer and then go and hit the cost of treating it. Make a long story short. But they cite these enormous fees that these people are buying into the club. So if you want to get in our sewer club, you give us this kind of money. So if we go into development and we're accepting big developments, do they help us fund new source? I mean, it's in the connection fee, but it's kind of drifting from what I just said, but it's not.
But the connection fee is just by house.
Excuse me?
Isn't the connection fee just by house, like
It is.
3,900 or something in that range
Right,
per house?
right.
So you're suggesting
That's
that
new
there's
source
like a,
development. That's exactly what it's.
there's like an initiation fee.
Right. Well, you know, you got a well-developed system. Somebody paid to put that in there. So if you're just getting in there, I mean, you got to pay your part. And that fee hasn't gone up. But, you know, why is the MWRA charging things like, you know, $30,000 or something like that for a new business to get involved? That's a lot more than the $28,000.
You're talking about a development now, not an individual home. Just if someone
I
has a
was
lot
thinking
and
of
they want to build a
subdivision,
house, we
right.
have a connection fee of a little under $4,000. You're
Right.
talking about if there's a subdivision of 10, 15, 20 homes, that they
Might have a
they-
$25,000
So
They
overhead
got
fee.
to pay an initiation fee to get into the system.
That's what I'm saying. Just the thought, you know.
Just don't wanna be
Somehow we
known
have
as
to pay for
anti-development.
new source. And when we're done paying this $2 million, we got to go find another source. Because this isn't going to be enough.
I know.
This is going to dry up, you know, 15, 30, 20 years. Who knows? You got to keep moving. You got to
That's a
keep.
good idea.
So the question is, I mean, what is reasonable customary mitigation? You know, because that's mitigation, that's what that is. And, you know, and how should that be reflected and what's allowed? Because I know you
Well, it's
can't
got to be
necessarily.
relative, I would think.
Yeah, but you can't necessarily, because I think I just went through this in the last couple of months, that you can't necessarily take some very significant cost associated with the incremental demand of water, like the well, and put it on the
All the
back
new-
of the new development that
Yes, you
people are
can.
looking to develop. No.
Well, water's a
If there's
utility
some,
now.
if,
Yeah, but
it depends on,
back up
we
for
have
one-
some zoning things that we're negotiating, that's a negotiated type situation. That's not always the case, so not all developments are equal
Well, I
in
guess-
that respect.
I'm a little confused, because like you talk about your 10-lot subdivision with a $30,000 MWRA fee. That's no different than our 10-lot subdivision that has, our connection fee, I think Al confirmed for me, is $3,000 per house. That's $30,000 that we're getting, you know, we get from the individuals. So,
Right.
you know, if that's not enough, we could tweak that number, you know, make it 4,000 or whatever.
Within reason,
Um,
yeah.
So I think we can attack it at the house lot, at the house level rather than the subdivision level.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was worth the conversation, but I thought it was interesting to hear that, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
how they're
No, I think
developing,
it's-
how they're solving their problem
Yeah.
is by
Well,
charging.
we're going to need capital,
Yeah.
one way or the other.
You know, that, like, you take 48 houses times 2850. I don't know what the math on that is, but
Just call it
96.
3,000.
Fox Run,
Yeah.
Call it 3,000.
3,000 times 48.
120,
That's a
134,000.
significant amount of money that we got for the development of Fox Run.
Mhm.
Just for instance.
Magic.
Is that project on you?
Yeah.
So it's good. Like I said, that's capital.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's what's been going on, but,
1%, you know, almost 1% of the construction cost.
So what have we agreed to?
So what we agreed, I guess, well, as far as this issue, Jack is gonna pull together like a plan of sorts that he'll distribute
I
to the
thought Bob was
members of the
gonna
board.
work it out.
Well, work
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Bob, Al, whatever, but Jack ultimately will present something to the members of the board, and hopefully we'll be able to implement sooner rather than later. To your point, Jim, in the meantime, we can certainly use the reverse 911 to ask for cooperation, yes, and then the question is, what words are appropriate in terms of words of warning as far as, you know, penalties, and so maybe that should be part of, you know, Jack and you folks wordsmithing a little bit, make sure we put some thought into what that should say, that 911.
I wonder if we shouldn't, it's always good to do a survey, find out what other towns are doing, but our abutting towns, find out if there's any strength in numbers. You know, if we
Where you said,
regionalize the thought, you know, what are you doing, what are you doing? You want to meet and have a meeting? Let's think about what you know, and eke out the best solution. And maybe talk everybody else into doing the same thing, so you become powerful that way. And it's not to hurt anybody.
No, it's just, well, it's a precious resource, which we have seemed to be the most limited, because I know what, you said Rentham was mad about the when you, people irrigate a
I
lot, but.
assumed that, by the way, I
Right.
didn't.
No, but I looked at like the annual reports, stuff like that, and their finances, both Rentham and Plainville, at least named two towns, are still selling water. So I don't want to say they're flushed with water. They have the ability to sell water. We're looking to buy water, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
not that they're having a problem, right? They
Yeah.
constantly sell. I mean, Plainville, I think, sells $384,000 a year worth of water. Yeah, I read that. It was either Plainville or there. Check it. I think
I
it's
think
both
they're
selling
buying
water.
water. They have,
I don't think so.
well, we're getting into a whole, well, I
Yeah.
came from North Attleboro, and I can tell you that North Attleboro has a huge well site in Plainville.
Right. Yep.
They made a crazy deal. Plainville suffers for it now because they're gonna pay North Attleboro for the water. So
Water. And
maybe
they have
they're
the
selling water,
Garachi
but
too.
they're already
But I don't know.
paying
I
for
thought I
it.
read somewhere the Rentham, they both sell water. I know Rentham sells water.
Oh, Millis sells
Millis
water.
sells
too.
it, too.
I mean, and not that they're flushing it, so.
Part of the problem is our system is younger than a lot of the others. So we used to just have a distribution system, and we bought water from Franklin. So we got into the well business late compared to other towns. So,
They took up all the good sites too. Well, no.
well, yeah, I mean, we were developing as a town before we started putting in wells. So a lot of the vast open spaces were gone before, so it just becomes more costly for us to do it compared to the towns that put 5 wells in,
Yeah, almost from day
100
one.
years ago.
Right, yeah.
I mean, a lot of what's gone on has really been in the last 15, 20 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, these other systems have been around a long time. That's a very good point. And most of our work has been in the last 15, 20 years. Pretty close, isn't it, Al?
Don't quote me on it, I think 1982 was when we put in Gold Street, I believe.
So 30 years tops.
Yeah.
Yep. That's young.
That's about all the bad news I can give you.
Thank you. Ryan, you did a great job.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Find us
appreciate
some
your
water.
support,
Yeah.
Brian. Thank you.
Yeah, he's here free of charge. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah. He's here for us. He's gonna find us water. You're like the divining rod. You better find us water.
Yeah, my sticks.
Yeah. And it better be flowing and clean.
Right.
Bob doesn't have to even treat
Remember,
it.
we know where you live.
We do?
No, we don't.
I was like, all right. He's like, Bob, we have a
Sprinkler system? No wells in Somerville. Is that where you're going?
You're not on irrigation, are you? No. Okay.
He's got sewer.
I
Those
have
are-
a yard. I got
You
a
don't-
brick walkway. There's no need to water that.
You have to wait for the crack and the heat.
Is there anything
I
else?
got my watering
Just,
can.
the only other action item we have that's related to you is approving the leachate removal service proposal. I mean, it seems fairly straightforward. We
Only got one bid anyway.
Thank you,
got
Ryan.
one bid in, and so
night,
I think we're
everybody.
going to
Good night.
approve that one.
Thank you. Good
Thank you,
night.
sir.
I'm going to make this is Bobby to be here. I make a motion to approve the leachate removal services contract to Wastewater Services, Inc. of Bridgewater, Mass.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good luck with the removal.
You bet. Thanks, fellas. Good
Thanks,
night.
Bob.
Thanks,
Good
Bob.
night.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks,
Thanks,
Al.
Bob. Appreciate it. Thank you, Al.
Keep up the good work. Curb the water use.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you, Alfred. You too.
Good luck out there after what we said tonight. I know. Yeah. Yeah, change your water. Yeah, no water, Norfolk water.
Bullseye in this.
Yeah, it already, you said Norfolk water. It already-
You've already got it.
I'd change this off to I'd work at the garage.
That's an interesting discussion. I did not know we could do that onto a water bill.
No, I mean, I know we lean our water bills onto property taxes, so.
And I apologize, I know we had this conversation before, and you correctly reminded me that we really
Well, I
couldn't
generally.
enforce it. I'd forgotten that.
So, Jack, you opened the action items, so
Good.
please continue.
We have a request
To appoint
to appoint Elisabeth Vallee and Peter Soltz to the Council on Aging, terms to expire June 30th, 2019.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Please
Thank
vote.
you, Elizabeth and Peter, for your support for our town.
We have a request from the Hockomock YMCA to approve their annual Hockomock Area YMCA Triathlon on Sunday, July 24th, as a small portion of the Norfolk roads will be used. Chief Stone has approved this request.
I noticed the extensive maps in the packet. So
I think they've been through this before.
I didn't print that. I can't believe you printed it. I was looking at the same paper.
I printed it before I realized.
Yeah, and I looked first.
Yeah,
'cause I don't
17
print them.
pages.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 I looked first too, Jeff. It was like 30 pages, and I got to see what's in there.
We have a request from one Marion Harrington to vote a date for the fall town meeting. I think we had originally proposed November 15th.
Okay.
We do have the ability to always, of course, always change that if we need to. I know we had some discussions about Southwood proposal coming in and whether or not they were going to try and get on the fall town meeting, but
I mean, we know that date works because it's a date for a selectmen's meeting, so I suggest we stick with it unless there's a
Fine with me.
good reason to do something different. We may have to schedule another meeting in there to
Good by me.
prepare or something.
Yeah, fine with me.
I just want to give the school book to some.
Yep.
Good by me, Coach.
Do we need to vote on that, or is
I think
it-
just vote to approve November 15th as the fall town meeting.
I move to set the fall town meeting date as November 15th.
Second.
further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We did the leachate removal, so please vote to renew the directional sign permits for Jane and Paul's Farm, which I'm very happy to have in my hand, as well as Norfolk Rink Management, Fore Kicks, and Gulf Subway Dunkin Donuts through June 30th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
When, not really discuss, but just a question, because didn't we talk about this, maybe letting Jack approve it? They always have to come to the selectmen? Not that I'm not happy to approve them, or is that something, I don't want to delegate our authority or say we can't do work.
Delegate
I
away
don't
if
know how
you
the
like.
board feels, well, the directional signs. Jim's chuckling. I think we've talked about that before. Yeah.
I think we have talked about it.
I thought we did too.
I don't recall, did you, if you?
I remember.
I don't know if I have to
if
do
you
a vote on it.
delegated,
I'm
I
not trying to
apologize.
say, it takes 2 seconds. I'm just curious, it seems
I will
like,
move to authorize the town administrator to approve all directional sign permits for the town.
seconded.
Further discussion?
I'd be happy to do it.
Okay, with that in mind, all those in favor say aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. Thanks, Jack.
We have a request to appoint someone as the backup member of the Norfolk County Advisory Board. We're just waiting to hear back from
Yeah,
the
we're gonna
county
table
whether or not we should do that, so,
Table that.
okay. And then, I guess I'm going to have to table the next one because I apologize. I thought I'd given you copies of the IMA, so I will give you copies of the IMA, the intermunicipal agreement with Metacomet, and we can approve that at our next meeting if that's okay with you.
Is that too late for you?
Yeah, I was
No,
gonna say,
that's
it's gonna
fine.
hold it, not gonna be a problem.
Okay.
That'll work. I apologize for that.
I didn't see it, Jack. I should have read down the accident and asked you when I first got it. I didn't.
I was going to bring, I didn't even bring my copy today, so that's,
So,
no, you
discussion
start.
items? Goals and liaisons.
I think Marion
Do you have-
provided you,
Yep.
right, you gave them
This.
copies of their last year's goals. So usually the process we go through is you take last year's goals and you think about them for a little while, and then we, at our next meeting, we
I'll be ready.
we consolidate your thoughts, put them into 2017 version.
It sounds like a reasonable plan to me.
And then the other thing was liaisons. We gave you the 2015-16 liaisons. I think just whether or not you want to do any swapping, or we can pull them out of a hat, or
Chairman's pleasure. As far as I'm concerned, I'm willing to trade, not trade, give up, take over. And
I mean, do you want to think about this and talk about this at the next meeting with goals?
it's fine with me.
Reasonable?
Aye. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Whatever your pleasure.
so then I have a few other things to talk about. So as we told you at our last, as we've been working on for a number of months now, we have some union negotiations going on, and one of them was the health insurance change. So we had, we want to send out to the unions just our formal agreement as to what we are are putting in place in exchange for them agreeing to the changes in the healthcare design. So there are some documents there that we need to send out to the
Oops, I'm sorry.
the union heads, the union presidents. And it just formalizes what we've previously agreed to. And then I have
A couple extra.
yeah, we just need signatures.
Oh, you need signatures.
After you look at them, if you know, assuming you don't find any issues with that, we just need signatures on those, so we'll send those out and keep a copy for us.
So you got like 5 copies? Is it what you
Yeah.
need? 5 signatures, 5 sets of signatures?
Yeah, because we have
5 unions.
5 unions. Tricky.
Is there a need, you've got all the numbers and the detail down, but I know one of the issues that the employees had was the process of submitting the bills.
They've worked that out through the form that that was created.
So should that be part of this, or are we okay with that?
I don't think so. I mean, the unions have seen a draft of this already, and a draft of the a copy of the form that was created, and they didn't ask to have that part of it. Certainly can add it if that comes up as an issue.
I just don't want anybody to come back and prolong would it make sense maybe to just add one more bullet that says, that for the purposes of submitting expenses, the attached form has been agreed to, and attach the
We
form?
can do- Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know that was a big issue with one of the unions.
Yep.
Just to make sure there's no loose end on it.
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
That's fine, yeah.
So we're not signing this then?
I mean, I'm okay with the letter. The letter's fine. You know, I don't want to delay it.
I can,
I don't want to delay it. Just
Would you
send it the
wanna-
way it is, and just attach the form.
Okay.
You put a cover memo on it.
okay.
Does that agree with you guys? Put a cover memo on it, just saying,
I'm all set,
we have
yeah.
also included the form that we've agreed to the agreement, something like that. That way you don't have to delay it.
Okay.
That work?
That's fine. I don't think it'll be I agree with you. We don't want any loose ends, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, don't redo this.
Yeah.
How many you need?
I think 5 at least.
I think 5.
Maybe
And
one
we'll
more.
make a copy of one for our records.
Scott?
Oh, thank you. So we have 2 complete so far. Good, I'll keep track. Yeah, I'll keep them.
That one's complete. Sorry about that.
Oh, is another one complete? I got 3 down here complete.
I think we're good.
Okay, and then I have another agreement for you. Just a slight amendment to the police contract, and it's really just clarifying.
No, he has some. He has 2. I have 3. So we got 5 total, right, Jack? There's 3 here.
I think that was the plan, was 5.
He's all good, Mr. Bugby?
Yes, sir.
Check them,
Marion, Marion will
Don't
check.
trust
She
them.
will check them. She never trusts you guys. Trust but verify.
Yeah.
Yeah, trust but verify.
The other document I have for you is just a amendment to the police contract. And what we're doing is just clarifying that the sergeants, remember we gave an increase to the sergeant's differential? In our discussions, we had talked about, and the union actually brought this to our attention, we had talked about having that go into place a year from now, so June 30th of 2017. So we didn't memorialize that in the contract, so they're.
for them.
So, yep,
Good
absolutely.
for them. Amen. Thank you,
So
guys.
we're memorializing that, and then they just wanted to clarify the language that broke out those steps. We had it in years, they just wanted to shift it to months, just so there was no question. So Scott worked out that with the union, and
It speaks well to our
absolutely.
guys.
He told me about the first issue, and I was worried. I was like, oh, no, we didn't put it in, and was happy to hear that they jumped right on board, and
Will you make sure you thank them?
I will be happy to do that. Just because we didn't have it on the list last time.
Is there 5 of these two?
He's got like 6 of those. I don't know. I'm not sure why.
All right.
Duplicates.
The next thing,
He's retiring in August, so you just want to be sure there's an extra copy.
yeah. Next thing, just we on our list of appointments last meeting, we left one off, so we asked you to appoint Mr. David Lapointe to the Design Review Board. Term to expire June 30th, 2019. David. Yeah, so this is a funny process. It's a appointment by the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, but then confirmed by the majority of the board. So, so all the pressure's on Jeff, and then the pressure's on the rest of you.
So,
Please, thank you.
so I will appoint David Lapointe as member of the Design Review Board with term expiring June 30th, 2019. Was that the correct date? Yes?
And please note that the chairman did that enthusiastically.
I don't know, Mr. Bugby. Do you think that we should, do we have faith in our chairman's?
Can we do a sidebar on that? Is that allowed?
Yeah.
Is that sidebar allowed?
I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, what do you think?
This is his first big appointment. It's almost like executive order from
This
Rob.
is an
Let's-
executive order.
Yeah, let's go. Let's give him the.
Give it to him?
Yeah.
All right. I move to reaffirm the chairman's appointment.
Second.
Further discussion? Not that
Don't-
we
don't
haven't had
tempt us.
enough already. All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Jerry.
Thank you, Mr. Lapointe.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you stepping up
Man,
and
that's-
supporting our
Are we
design.
signing?
I've never heard of that process before.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you
Good news.
have to sign it that you guys approved it.
An application?
Where did that come from?
I don't know. Marion, you know, that's what happens when you start reading the
Jeff,
rules.
is it?
Marion
Or Clark?
finds out.
Where
that-
did you ever find that, Marion?
The first one's a class 2.
No, the appointments.
We've been doing it wrong for a whole bunch of years,
Signed it. Class 2, we all sign here.
I guess so.
I guess.
So there's just one page for Design Review Board? Yes?
Yes. I'm sorry. You have to sign this one, Jeff, and above me.
So that was fun.
Sign above me. And Jim has to sign that one.
At my expense?
Yeah.
My next, I have 2 more bits of business.
We'll sign these. We just have to sign there, so you're the top, me and Jim. Try to get in the right order. You can sign in my spot if you want.
They'll be done in a while.
I got to get that handbook done.
Sign that?
Oh boy.
What we doing?
Well, I guess I could blame you.
This one? No, I don't know. No, you can probably blame me, Jeff. I probably missed that. Yeah, I'll go to hit this. That right there, Jeff.
Sure.
Yep.
You took my job away,
What's that?
clerk.
Wait, no, I told him not to sign. I
Am
told
I
you.
supposed to not sign?
No, you're signing those.
No, the other ones.
Oh boy.
I told you not. No, you sign these. The appointments you don't have
It's
to
another
sign.
executive order.
Jeff signed
What's
it.
the problem?
No, this is fine. Keep signing.
Doing fine. You're doing-
On the appointments to the committee, usually the clerk to sign. You don't need 3 signatures. You're doing. This is fine.
Jim
This is
signed-
directional
Jeff
sign. This is
signed
a
the
3
other ones
signature
for Peter
document.
and,
It's okay.
I'm just.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
it's-
Doesn't matter if it's signed.
I told him. I said leave
Doesn't
it
matter
aside
to
for
us.
Jim. It doesn't matter. It doesn't
It
hurt
does
that much
matter
your
to someone.
signature. It's a really.
I was just pulling his chain.
I know. Poor guy. Jeff's like too serious. Yeah. He's had a long night. I think.
our ratings got to
He's
be
gonna vote us out.
our ratings got to be going through the roof. This is
Put a transfer of deed on his property down there, see if he signs
Hey, wait a
that.
minute, this is nothing, nowhere near as exciting as the sprinklers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know
System.
that
So we're gonna get voted out. I don't know
Notary-
if he has the power. He probably has some kind of executive power.
that Notary Public book you signed before gave us a lot of power.
Oh, that. Yeah, thank you, sir. Good man.
Okay, so, as you know, I have received and accepted the retirement
Was I?
request. No,
need to know.
I've, no, nope,
He
nope,
said
none of
that.
that.
He's shaking his hands. He's all smiling enthusiastically too. I was like getting a little nervous.
Retirement, no, I don't, this is not enthusiastic at all. As you know, Norma Shruhan is going to retire in the next couple of months. And we've begun the process. We've been collecting resumes. They've been coming in to Mr. Bragdon. We've also been receiving a whole lot of input from seniors, I guess, at people who are familiar with the operations down there, and a lot of good input from people recommending one person or another. So it's been a great process so far. So the week of July 11th, Scott and I, and we have a recommendation from the Mr. Tallerman, I forget what his title is, chairman of the Council on Aging. He's recommended somebody from his board to participate in the review process and then eventually the interview process. I was just going to, I thought it would be good if any of you were interested in being a part of that process for, going through the resumes and then interviewing candidates.
Do that.
Well, I was going to say, I might want to flip.
No, that's fine.
Let the guy has senior experience. No, he knows the work. I figured he'd jump on it, Jeff. I know it. Like
Yeah, you're
Jeff,
more qualified than me.
Yeah, no. Yeah. We'll be the next generation.
moment.
Yeah, we're right behind him.
I'm not sure that was a compliment.
It is a
No,
compliment.
it wasn't. I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
Thanks for reaffirming that, Marion. Yeah, thanks.
Watch
No
out, man.
executive order?
Watch out, man. We can put you on that committee too, so watch out. If you're right next to Jim.
Let the record show that I did step up and volunteer
But he was,
But you're deferring to.
but he was too young.
my senior statesman here.
My last.
You really want to?
No.
Okay.
It's fine.
They'll probably meet you in the day, Jim. That'd be tough.
My last bit of business was
Roll there, isn't it?
just to comment on, as you know, Mr. Todd Lindmark, local resident, was hired a couple of weeks ago now to be the town's new town accountant. Todd's been here a couple of weeks now and done a great job. He's been very enthusiastic in his approach to reaching out to the MMAAA, which is the Accounting and Auditors Association for the MMA, and he's gotten assigned to a mentor, John Adams, coincidentally, and he's also reached out to the Department of Revenue. He's having a meeting with them, working with, he's had conversations with Julie McCarthy, our most recent town accountant. So, and he's done a great job internally as well. So I just happy to report that Todd's off to a great start and looking forward to a successful tenure with him. So,
That's great.
if you get a chance, stop by and say hi to him. He's upstairs.
Great to have someone local. Less chance they want to move, get closer to home,
Yeah.
take a job closer to home. So I think it's wonderful. I mean, we're lucky.
Yeah, no, I've gotten feedback from the other department heads, employees that he's easy to talk to and obviously very knowledgeable. Got a lot of experience both on the legal side and accounting side. So I'm sure he's going to be a great asset for years to come. So that was it. I know we have another agenda item there on the Southwood discussion.
Yeah, I don't know that we can, I was hoping we were going to have a meeting before this meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That didn't work out, so I don't know there's much. I can just tell you that a smaller working group has been working quite extensively with Hoboken, trying to close the loops on some open issues so that we can bring this forward. And hopefully, there are still some open issues, I guess is about the best way to say it. And we're trying to get the larger group together. The smaller group, I think, has taken a position that's been communicated to George that we think would be acceptable. Now we want to bring that to the larger group to get that reaffirmed.
Is
And,
that the same group that was convening?
yes, yeah. And we
Last summer,
we-
right? Last
Yeah.
summer.
how about 2 years we've been working?
Yeah, I've done a lot of work.
Yeah, but it was through last summer. That
Yeah.
was
Heavy work, yeah.
noteworthy. People were meeting through the summer.
Yeah, we met about every other week to try to work all those.
Trying to get it on the fall town meeting warrant.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're gonna get it nailed down one way or the other. So I think that's a safe way to say it, that.
Good progress, and, you know, it's been.
Yeah,
it's
I
been
would
a-
say by the July 28th meeting, we'll have at least an understanding of what the project's gonna be or not, or we're not going forward.
I think, yeah, so I think the working group's trying to meet the week of July 11th now.
July 11th at 5:30 is, if you guys wanna join, sit in, July 11th at 5:30. Open meeting.
Yeah, yeah, if you're gonna actively participate, just let Marion know so that we can post you.
Yeah, can you post that, Marion? I think Ray may have already, I don't
Oh,
know.
I just mean for the.
Selectmen.
If you guys are
Oh,
gonna.
yeah, why don't you do
Why
that?
don't you, yeah.
Why don't you post it
do
for all of us? I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
If you can't make it, that's fine, but you'll be.
At least it's
posted.
there, and then we'll cover
Posted
it.
for protection.
Honestly, I think if you can, it would be very helpful to have
July
you there,
11th, 5:30,
because
this
it's
room.
Really,
Should
there
have
are
taken.
some significant positions that we need to be, communicate in a firm nature that, you know, either will or will not do. So, yeah, it would be very helpful to have you both there.
Those are the big things I had.
We have minutes too, if you want.
The other thing was we've had a working group meeting with Mr. DePlacido too, and I think we're making good progress on that. He's, you know, I think he's, a lot of back and forth. I think we're gonna see him probably go into, you know, very likely go into a 40B situation, but I think we're at the point where at least this working group thinks it's a workable 40B, you know, I don't, friendly or unfriendly, I don't know, but, you know, I think it's at least the
He's been responsive.
very responsive.
He's
yeah.
been responsive to the recommendations.
He asked to meet with Ray, and then Ray pulled together a couple, you know, planning board member, myself, Jim, so it's been a good discussion.
Sorry, Jerry. Good.
That's all I had now. Turn the TV back to you.
Not me. Gentlemen? Oh, the minutes. That's all I brought up was, I think Mr. Lee and his
Me
minutes.
now, I do.
No, I didn't know if you wanted to
Yes,
make a motion. I'd
I
be
will.
happy to second. See what they had, Jim.
I move to approve the minutes of May 24th, 2016, and June 14th, 2016, regular and executive session.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Does that conclude our meeting?
I'm good.
Do you have anything? Okay.
Motion to
Okay,
adjourn?
have a motion?
Other than to wish everybody a very happy and safe 4th of July.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All of you, thank you for
Putting up with
joining
us.
us.
Putting up with this crazy
And
bunch.
to everyone, please have a safe and happy 4th of July holiday. So,
I
all in
mean-
favor of
Wait, do
adjournment?
we have a second? Do we get a second?
Did you make the
I
motion?
made, I
Second.
moved. Just want to make sure.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry.
Thank you again for joining us. Good night, folks.
Sorry, I just want